Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. I'm joined with my co-host Dylan from Nets Press. It's going to be a good show today. The season is over, and I mean that's great news in and of itself. The season from hell, the season that no one liked, that is will go down as just one of the worst seasons in this. What's the worst season in the history of the Nets? That's a pretty bad season because we've had some bad seasons, man. And
Yeah.
I can't think of any year I've hated more being a Nets fan than this year, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I was very young when the 12 and 70 season happened, but I watched majority of the games again, and I felt like I left that season with more dignity than I did now. Um, you know, when you like we've said all year long, when you pay a premium to get your picks back and it doesn't feel like you're taking it seriously, it's definitely frustrating. So I would definitely say that this was by far the most depressing season as a Nets fan. But
Yeah.
hopefully, there at this point, there's nothing to complain about. They did the damage; it's done. Hopefully now we just get lucky, and if not, hopefully they just stay the course for one more year because it truly is that easy.
I want to address these two comments. Next Monday, Tuesday is the next deadline for the Nets fans. What do you know what that's in reference to?
I do not know
Okay, I don't know
what's
either.
next
Alex,
week.
what's next? What's next Monday, Tuesday? Uh, and Peter says we better get Cooper Flag. That's all I'm going to say. If we get Cooper Flag, it's because the NBA wanted to hook us up, and I think we're getting Dylan Harper. But you want to do a mock lottery, Dylan?
Yeah,
You want to
let's
do
do
a
it.
similar lottery?
We'll
Let's do it.
Yeah. So what we'll do moving forward is, especially with it being the off season, it's going to be a bit slower until we get more information on free agency and stuff like that. We'll do one lottery simulation to start shows and end shows. So this way we can either be extremely happy or actually extremely depressed for the remainder of the episode. But yeah, let's do one. We're currently at 6. The odds are there. There's the comments in the middle a bit. What is the chances of Brooklyn getting into the top 4 from 6?
Let me get rid of this. So getting in the top 4 from 6 is 37%, 37.2%, and the number one
Okay.
overall pick is 9.
Okay.
37.2 isn't terrible. It's not what we wanted. Even if you're Utah or Washington, Utah finished with the worst record. Utah has a 52% chance. I can't believe anyone quote Washington. That's crazy. Utah did a hell of a job of tanking, and I think the NBA is going to punish them for that because that's ridiculous. Like, do you get how much more talented Utah is than the Brooklyn Nets? It's not even close.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the funny part is I mean, like I said, I'm not a biased Nets fan whatsoever. I would like to think I'm very straightforward and truthful with certain things. The Jazz roster on paper is just much better than ours. It is. Like it really is, unfortunately.
Our
Um,
roster's a goddamn disaster. It's
yeah,
horrible.
it's
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 only
really
rivaled by
bad.
Washington. That's it.
Even Washington, towards the end of the season, looked like they had a better young core and foundation around them with Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly. So it's very like Brooklyn's all around roster is one of, if not the worst roster in basketball, and that's just coming from where we currently stand direction wise. Like if this is a rebuild, we're really starting from scratch because Claxton has kind of proven he is not a foundational piece. Cam Thomas barely played. He's due for a contract. Who knows what his health and everything looks like next year? He may not even be a foundational piece moving forward after next season. So like you really have to strike big on this draft class of next year, and hopefully they just stay the course because these next 2 years are really going to be what makes or break Brooklyn into accelerating the rebuild and wasting all these draft picks once again, like we've done twice before, and not winning a championship out of it. So we'll see.
It's well. Let's get to the draft, right? Like if we land 1, 2, 3, or even 4, I think there's a silver lining to all of this.
Yeah.
But you want to do a lottery now? You
Yeah,
want to
let's
sim
do
this
it.
up?
Let's see it. Let's see how depressed I'm going to be in 27 days.
7, 7.
Yeah.
Washington,
Yep.
Philly, Utah, San Antonio, Charlotte, New Orleans, Brooklyn.
Yep. What did I say? I said
San
two.
Antonio's the big winner there.
I
Yeah.
said 2 out of the 5 teams between Philly, San Antonio, Brooklyn, Houston, and Miami are going to land in the top 4. And what happens? You get Philly and San Antonio in the top 4. So it feels right. That feels accurate. So we'll see. But yeah, that's definitely the way that it could go, and you'll see me very depressed. But
It's just for this tumultuous of a season to end up with the 7th pick. I mean, how disheartening is that?
Extremely. I mean, like I've said for months on end, when you pay that much to gain your future back, and you don't take it serious enough to at least put yourselves in the best position to not be so far down in the draft, it's disappointing. Like everybody says, it's a lottery. You know, if you're the worst team, you can end up at 5. Realistically, if the 5th worst pick is what I got instead of potentially 8 or 9, it's a huge difference. But hey, that's the cards we're being dealt right now, thanks to Sean Marks and company. So
I want to do something.
whatever happens,
Dylan.
happens.
And it'll just take a minute because we're not going to break down the players and stuff. I'm just going to keep a tally here. Every day that we do this, I'm going to just pick where we drafted, and hypothetically, we'll just run down to 7 who we would have gotten if it was up to us. So let's just run down.
If this was the board and there was no trades.
No trades, so this is the board. Yeah.
All right. So Washington goes Flag, Harper to Philly, Ace to Utah, VJ to San Antonio. I'm gonna say. What would you say here? Trey Johnson, Mallowock, or Derek Queen?
For Charlotte, I would say
they could go one of the 3. Really wouldn't hurt them.
They tried to trade their center. I'm leaning towards Trey Johnson. Unless they're still trying to trade their center, then they'll take one of the 2 bigs.
Yeah.
I think they take Trey Johnson. He's a Hornets type player. He'll score 25 points a game and make 0 impact. I'm going to say Trey Johnson.
All right. So if they were to go Trey, then New Orleans definitely goes with one of the centers. So we'll just say in this instance, Derek Queen.
Now it's interesting because I had my eye set on one guy, but now I'm okay with one of 2 guys. I'll let you pick. You know who I'm deciding between.
If it's my personal choice between Mallowock and Fears at 7, I am taking Fears because I do see Sorber as the guy that could be the dark horse in this draft class later in the first round. Like, to me, like I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, I think Sorber has more upside in terms of an all-around player in the NBA than Derek Queen has, simply because he has the mid-range ability. He has the post-scoring ability. He's a solid playmaker for his size. He's 6'10", 250, but he's a much better defender than Derek Queen is. So, to me, I really do think that you need to land one of Harper or Fears with your first pick, if not Flag. And then at 20, going with a guy like Sorber.
I think, in this hypothetical, I would also take Fears because there are more centers, including Sorber, that I can take later. If they took Mallowock, I would not complain about that because I think his upside is scary good. Like, his upside is really good. But if I was to make this pick, I would take Fears too. And honestly, if we walked away with Fears, I know it's not Cooper, it's not Harper, it's not Ace, but Fears is a very good player. And now we have something, I believe, that we can start building around, right? Instead of just having dudes on a roster, there would be some directions. Like, okay, we've got Fears. Where do we go? What else can we get? How would you feel about that?
I would be intrigued. I mean, like you said, if they were to go Derek Queen or Mallowock at 7, it's a good pick, but to me, you would need to be aggressive in moving up, right? If you miss out on Fears or if you pass up on Fears and you miss out on Harper, you got to go and grab a guy like Nolan Traore. You got to go and try and grab a guy like Boogie Flan. I mean, shit, if Igor falls outside of the lottery at San Antonio at 15, you got to figure out a way to try and go grab him. So there's the good part about this draft class is there is a lot of depth at the point guard position. It is very, very limited on the wings, which is why I say if you miss out on Flag or Ace, I don't care who the wing is that you draft. Just make sure it's one of, Will Riley, Rasheer Fleming, Ado Fiaro, Yaxel Lendeborg. Like, just make sure it's one of those 4, because those are the only other ones that I'm actually, or Carter Bryant. Those are like one of the 5 that I'm really high on in terms of not being the top two wings. Bryant probably having the most upside. But yeah, to me, your first pick has to be point guard or center. Your next pick, if you don't trade up at 20, needs to be vice versa, point guard or center. And then from there, just go with two wings later on in the first.
If we get Fears, to me, now it's just focusing on getting that big. My only fear, though, is that Sean Marks is convinced that we have our young big of the future that he just signed last offseason, and that Nick Claxton is going to ultimately get a say on how we spend these draft picks. That's my biggest fear. Sean Marks does not like to be wrong. Like, I have a fear that Sean Marks is listening to this right now, be like, why would I draft Sorber or Maluak or Queen? I have Nick Claxton.
Yeah,
that's my fear with him.
So it's interesting that you bring it up, because this hasn't really been something I've seen floating around Nets Twitter yet. But this was yesterday from Sports Illustrated. It says Lakers Nets could make offseason trade. The Brooklyn Nets and Los Angeles Lakers could make a trade with each other once again. This is from Jeremy Brenner. The quote exactly is, they are about to wrap up their second consecutive season with a sub 400 winning percentage. And despite the losing, they are woefully short on young blue chip talent. This asset-rich return could help change. This could help change that, no matter if Brooklyn would view Dalton Connect and the draft picks as keepers or trade chips. The Lakers' willingness to make this deal is contingent upon their playoff performance. If they fall short of a title because of their lack of size in the post, Los Angeles could be looking to make a deal. The deal that they brought was Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, and I believe a first-round pick and first-round pick swap. If you can get that for Nick Claxton this offseason, send it. I don't care.
I would do it. Put a 2 in there instead of the 1. I just want to get the hell out of here.
I would do one singular. I would do one singular first. But to me, if you make that move, again, you're bringing in two wings in Kennett and Rui. To me, you then need to move Cam Johnson. Like, there's no scenario where Cam Johnson should be on the team. There's no logical sense in keeping him, whether you like him or not. Like, non-biased opinion, with, say you draft a flag or an ace, Cam Johnson doesn't fit. If you draft a Rasheer Fleming or a Will Riley, Cam Johnson doesn't fit. If you trade for a Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect, you still have potentially Zaire Williams coming back and Noah Clowney still on the roster. Cam Johnson doesn't fit. So to me, if they really want to take the development of their youth into consideration, Johnson needs to be moved no matter what. So I love this deal. If that was to actually happen, I am extremely happy. I think that puts Brooklyn in a position to then draft a big, so you're getting one of Maluak, Queen, or Sorber, hopefully. But this also allows you to bring back Sharp on a cheaper deal to be a young developmental piece still. There's still a lot of untapped potential with Sharp, and we saw a lot of it get untapped this year with his three-point shooting and spacing. So to me, I absolutely would love that deal. Hopefully it's something that does get reconsidered. And for those of you who like to sub me at times, I put this out there at the trade deadline. I said Nick Claxton was going to be a topic this offseason, that his name was going to start floating around at the trade deadline, which it did, but no moves were going to be made until the offseason. We're starting to see offseason news now with him and rumors. Like I said, I talk to people. Stop shitting on me. They're not always correct, and I can openly admit that. But there are a lot of things that I do hear from around the league and with some of the people that I speak to. We're going to actually be having one on tomorrow, a San Antonio Spurs reporter. But trust me, man, I got you guys. I do this for fun.
We got LBL here. LBL, did you hear the particulars of the trade and your initial thoughts on that? I mean, me and Dylan think it's a home run. I would do it for just anything. Just salary bill. Just get Claxton the hell out of here. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Who are we trading track? We're attaching one first, you said?
No. The package would have the package that they're reporting is Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, and a first-round pick for Nick Claxton. Whether the first-round pick be unprotected, protected, swap, not too sure what the actual details are. But
they're doing all of that, and we're not giving up any picks?
Nope.
I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Do it in a heartbeat. I agree. And the reason why it makes so much sense is if you really like I'm a big person that tries to put pieces together. And if you look at last offseason, Luka was on JJ Redick's podcast, absolutely hyping up, loving the possibility of playing with a Nick Claxton at some point in time. There was rumors with him in Dallas not too long ago before they got Daniel Gafford. Luka loves Nick Claxton, and he's a player that fits the age and time frame of what the Lakers are going to try and do post LeBron James era. So to me, it makes perfect sense. He's not the best big man in terms of size and what he can bring for you as a actual big man defender, but the versatility that he brings to play alongside a guy like Luka, it's very Derek Lively-like, and Dallas saw a ton of success with that duo last year when they made the finals. So to me, Nick Claxton and the Lakers just makes way too much sense as of right now, and it is definitely something that I can see being reconsidered, especially with the failed physical of Mark Williams. They're not going to be looking in his direction anymore. And Walker Kessler, Utah has already stated they don't want to move him. Kessler has already stated he wants to stay. So to me, Nick Claxton's really the only other big man option for the Lakers this offseason outside of guys like Robert Williams and stuff. But if it's me, go get the young guy that fits perfectly with Luka, who generally stays healthy. I think it's just a really good fit for them over there.
Yeah, I always wondered why Kessler would have been on the block anyway, because to me he was very decent, as a starter. You'd hope Donovan Clingan turns into Walker Kessler, because he could block shots, rebound, and
Yeah, no, definitely
50 points. But I was gonna say that I think Gafford is probably the better comp for Claxton, because neither one of them can really shoot. And at least Lively does have that three ball, but I think he was probably the better. And I think once we saw Gafford, we could get the same kind of production out of Nick Claxton from a cheaper guy like a Gafford. That's what made Nick Claxton's contract just plummet.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We could have had Lively last year at the deadline for Claxton. Think about that. That. We could have Lively's contract in, which is a great contract,
but that
anything to do with Claxton last year with Dallas.
That looks like the Lakers are giving an awful lot up to me for Claxton. So I don't mind, but I'm just saying.
Rewind. Just take me back 365 days though. When Claxton got that contract, there were other teams that offered him a similar contract. When they made those lists, the top 75, top 50, top 100 players in the NBA, Claxton was on the list. So what I'm saying is, we watch him every day, and I like Claxton. The only problem with Nick Claxton is he sucks and he's no good, right? That's the only problem with him. The other teams, I don't think like that message has made its way to other teams because last year he was valued. People looked at him like a piece. Like Dylan said, Luka likes him. Luka wants to play with them. I've always said if there's one place that we can, ship this dog with fleas, it's LA. Like it makes sense there. Luka wants him. Send him to LA. I don't even care what we get from him at this point. That would be a home run. If you just give me Rui and Dalton Connect, I would do it. If you threw in a 2, I would do. I just want that contract off the books because it's going to retard everything else we do. We're going to miss out on giving Day'Ron Sharpe a $10 million contract because we're giving Nick Claxton $27 million. We're going to not draft the center because we have our center of the future. It's gonna mess up everything we do by having him here. Not only is it a terrible contract, it's going to screw everything else up.
I was going to say, I just looked at I just looked at the article again. The exact package is Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, a future first, and a future first-round pick swap. Like, you can't decline that.
Yeah,
that is absolute malpractice if you decline that. There is no excuse in the book to not accept that.
Now, the only thing I worry about is Dalton Connect, has a really good postseason, and he'll probably be taken off. But like Gary said, even if he does step up and has a good postseason, I still would take the other stuff for it. You just have to match up the salaries, right? And what? How long is Rui?
The thing is getting Claxton the hell out of here. Like that's
how long is Rui's deal?
Rui's an expiring contract next year.
It's expiring contract coming up.
So what you're doing is you're pretty much clearing over. If you just do Claxton for Rui, you're clearing $4.5 million this season plus the $18 million that you'll be getting back next season. So I think Connet's on like a $3 million deal. Realistically,
Yeah.
Brooklyn saves
The
about 2 to
contract
3
was-
million
Yeah.
just within that deal, and then also gets the $18 million next offseason, which is huge because next offseason is probably the offseason that you see Brooklyn start to spend that money on long-term fits. Like this offseason could very well be a couple of one-year contracts, guys that you draft, and then bringing back Sharp, Zaire, and Cam Thomas. Like it could be that simple for this offseason.
Yeah, and
So it definitely allows you to spend more next offseason.
I'm looking at the draft that you guys did where we finished 7th, and I feel like if Philly finishes 2nd, I feel like Morey will be ready to deal that pick.
The problem is that if they're gonna deal that pick, it's gonna be for somebody like Larry like say Utah lands 1 or 2 and Philly landed at 4. Like they're gonna want to just try and fully go all in, right? Philly. So you would have to expect if you're trading the 4th overall pick in a stacked draft class, you're getting a star. Right? So to me, there's really no package that Philly can give up to get a star. To me, they gotta just draft if they get the pick. Just draft and then
That's
see
what
how it plays out next
I
year,
don't think
one more
that-
year.
yeah, I
and if
think
it doesn't
they'll-
work, move Embiid and Paul George.
Yeah, I think 76ers, I think, if they finish 2nd, they'll draft. But the only way that I feel like Morey keeps it is if it was flagged. If it's Harper, because he plays the same position as Maxey, and because they have that other kid from Connecticut who just got hurt, even though he's nowhere as good. I feel like they'd probably want to see more, and Morey's a dealer anyway. He'd probably want to see if there's a team out there that is willing to give them someone that they can go all in. Because I don't think I don't know the prognosis for their center, but I feel like they have to get a replacement for Embiid. And
That's why I said I think they take the pick this. Like if they land in the top 6 and they get to keep their pick, they likely just take the pick and see how it plays out this season. If it doesn't work out, Embiid and Paul George are gone, and then you just build around Maxey and the pick that you just got. They also have
And
their
McCain,
top 8
yeah.
protected pick in 2027, which is with us. So
So
if that
what-
pick lands in top
Now,
8, then they get it back.
Now, do they have their own pick next year?
I'm not sure.
Because that would be the thing. Because if they have their own pick next year, they're definitely tanking.
Let's see.
And it's not even, there's no big except for the 4 at the 4, but there's no.
They have their
Philly
2026
does
and
have-
2027 own pick. They have they have
Well, the
their own pick.
2027 is with Brooklyn,
Yeah.
but it is top 8 protected. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, if
but
there's
they're
a
not
time
gonna
for
do
them
it
to
that
do it,
many years
it's
in a
now.
row. Yeah, so I think they'll figure out whether Embiid's coming back, and then
They also have the
because-
Clippers pick unprotected in 2028 and swap rights to their 2029 pick. Like they're in a really good position for the post Embiid era. If they were to
Yeah.
move off of it very quickly, they could probably say they do land a top 5 pick this year, and next year same shit. Paul George sucks, Embiid's hurt. They bottom out again. They get a top 8 pick. Like they could really rebuild this team by 2028 for when that Clippers pick starts. And then at that point, they're kind of just pulling OKC level stuff where they have young talent that's really good, but they're also contending and still adding young talent. So Philly would be very smart to look into moving guys like Embiid and George this season, fully developing and allowing guys like Maxey, McCain, and whoever they draft
Hey.
this year to improve.
what
I
you
wanted
just
to
got
ask you
me
about what
thinking?
kind of haul do you think you can get for Embiid? I mean, this is why I said they should
Very,
trade
very
him
little now.
last year. Yes.
Yeah, very little
This year
now.
hurt him a lot.
So
yeah.
let me-
I could see like 2 first-round picks a swap and a protected first.
All right, so let me ask this: what if they draft Harper and they move Maxey?
I don't see them moving Maxey, honestly.
They'll play them together. Yeah.
They'll
would
likely
think.
play them together and have Jared McCain as like a backup.
Hmm.
Is
How
it
tall
smart?
Jared
No,
McCain?
but I think he's 6'5", 6'6".
Can he play the 3? Can he play all 3 of them?
Nah, he can't play the 3.
They'd have a very Portland-like rebuild where they have like Anthony, Shaden Sharp, and Scoot. Like one's gonna have to come off the bench.
He's 6'3". Wow. I didn't
McCain's
realize he
only
was that
6'3",
short.
really.
That's what it says on his. Yeah, that's what it says here. It
Interesting.
says he's,
I mean, hey, maybe they like the fit of
okay.
McCain and Maxey together so much that if they landed two, they'd trade back. But I doubt it. I mean,
And I
don't
thought
think
McCain. I thought McCain. You know who he reminded me of since he was on Philly? He reminded me of what's that? Michael Carter Williams. You know, like he's good. He's a good rookie in a bad rookie year.
yeah.
It's not like we're talking about Hall of Fame rookies right now. You know what I mean? So
No, before he was shooting the ball efficiently. Most rookies don't shoot the ball efficiently. He had 46-38 splits. He was shooting, a bunch of threes, shooting 6 threes a game. Like McCain was playing really, really well.
he was, but I also think
I don't know
that we have to apply that other part to it during a time when a lot of teams were tanking.
That's true. Could hang on here. Can a Trae Young trade net Toronto top 5 pick along with 2 former Knicks, or would Atlanta want a Young? What would a Trae Young trade look like? Trae Young to the Raptors keeps circulating. What do you think that would look like?
I really don't see Toronto being the team they have quickly. Like, to me, I think they need a 2 and a 5. So that's why I keep having them mocked around like VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, Malawak, Derek Queen. I don't see the fit there with Trae Young because they have Quickly. Like, Quickly is no Trae Young, but they're very similar in size and play style, where they're very erratic in how they handle the ball, how they play make. Like, to me, it doesn't really make sense unless if you're packaging Quickly and RJ Barrett. But
I was going to say
you can't even do that because they make more money than Trae combined. So
right. So
to me,
one or the other, and they want to move RJ. It sounds like.
Yeah, to me, the only current fits for Trae Young as of right now is Orlando, Minnesota, and I mean, I don't think they would do it because they're very hard-headed in who they bring in, but Miami. I feel like those are the only 3 teams that even make sense. I think Orlando is the clear and obvious choice for Trae Young this offseason.
I want to...
Yeah, I wonder who. If I'm Atlanta, though, I don't give up Trae Young unless I'm getting, I'm treating him like he's half the franchise because he is the face of the franchise. He he's an automatic 20 and 10 as far as production, and it's like, you can't give that guy up unless you're either getting a star or a very high value picks back.
I just don't think he's that good. Like, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Like,
no, I'm saying, but in Atlanta, he means more.
Yeah, I
to
get
them.
He's the face of your franchise, but look at your franchise. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at your franchise. I mean, you're consistently in the play-in. You're consistently a 9 seed. Like, I understand what you're saying, but like, it might be time to change the direction of the franchise, right? Like, there might be a reason.
I would say, if Toronto comes to me and says, "Hey, we really like Trae Young," I'm like, then give me Scotty Barnes. You know what I mean? No. We need a star. We need somebody to replace him because all we have is Jalen Johnson.
And then, if they got Toronto's pick in such a deal, you'd be hoping that was. You're right. They don't have a star. That's fair.
I mean, if you trade Trae Young this offseason, I mean, Orlando could give up a combination of like KCP, Jet Howard, Anthony Black, Cole Anthony, like a couple of those guys. They have their own first round pick this year, plus Denver's top 5 protected first round pick this year. They have swap rights to Phoenix or Washington's first round pick next year. Washington has the right to swap its 2026 first round protected selections 9 through 30. If Washington does not convey a first-round pick to New York in 2025, it's all fucked up. But they get a pick in 2026.
So you got to get a bunch of picks from Orlando because all those guys you named, they're mostly like salary fodder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't even play where they're at mostly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have picks. They have picks to do it. So if there's ever a time, it definitely makes sense for Atlanta to do it now again.
Yeah, before he gets too old. Yeah, It's sort of like didn't what's the name hold on to because right now he's actually what he reminds me of is what's the guy from North Carolina that played at Charlotte all the time.
Are we talking NBA or in
Oh
college?
no, I mean no, not North Carolina. I mean the guy from the New York guy that played at Charlotte, Kemba Walker. That's what I'm saying.
I thought you were getting at Raymond Felton. I thought that's what you're getting.
No,
at.
no,
Kemba
oh
Walker,
no,
yeah.
not that. But yeah, but I'm saying he's sort of like, remember how long Charlotte, kept trying to win with Kemba Walker, and it's like you can't build a team around this little guy, So that's kind of like what Trey is in now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good comp. And Charlotte, I think they made the playoffs once or twice with Kemba Walker too, right? But yeah, I mean, you're not going to really compete. I think that's a pretty good comp. It's not that I think Trey Young sucks. I think his game is flawed. He's very inefficient. I just don't see like if that's your best player that you're going to be a good team. I don't
like
see
Kemba,
that.
right? You can't.
Yeah.
He can't be the best player. He's got to be like the third best player for you to really
But
win.
he's so ball dominant. He passes the ball better than Kemba, right? But he's
Much
so
better.
ball dominant. It's like, who are you going to bring in to play with him, right? Like
That's why you have to. I mean, Orlando is like a perfect fit. He's probably your
Yeah.
second option. At least Franz is your third.
If you have a guy
Defensively,
like
the height
Paolo.
on that team.
Yeah.
Defensively, the height on that team makes up for him. Like when you have
don't
Onyeka
move to the
Okongwu and
paint.
Jalen Johnson, who are 6'8" and 6'9" as your 4 and 5, that hurts. Like Franz is what 6'7", Paulo's 6'9", 6'10". You got Wendell over there, Goga
But you got,
Bataze. Like they have
You
players.
got Jonathan Isaac, who I love, who I get mocked. I love Jonathan Isaac because he can legitimately guard 1 through 5. I know his offensive game sucks. Got it. Understood. He never really developed that. But like what he offers you defensively is what we pretend Nick Claxton offers us. You know what I'm saying? It really.
Well, if I could pry anyone off that roster, it would be Wendell Carter, because he could do that. He could do what Thompson used to do for the Cavs. Just rebound, man the middle, and of course he could occasionally hit the corner three, but he's definitely a 10-10 guy.
Well, it's official too, by the way. It's all over now. The Pelicans will move Zion Williamson.
All right, let's spend some time on this because this is going to be heated debate. Do you have a link or something I can put up on the screen?
Yeah, let me.
Send me
I'll
something.
send you a couple.
I'm going to go off, and then you guys can tell me why I'm wrong. But this is the one move I would look to make. His contract is reasonable. It's non-guaranteed. You're not going to have to give up a ton to get him. They put him up on the deadline. You got 0 calls, 0 phone calls. He played 20 games again this season. He's got all the flaws, everything. He's fat. He's lazy. He probably doesn't like basketball all that much. And you say, well, why do you want him? To me, it's the only way out of hell. We just did a mock draft. We got 7. We have the 6th worst odds. If we're drafting in that spot, the chance of getting out of hell in this draft class is not good. I mean, things happen, right? And maybe at 7 you get the next star. You can't bet on that at 7. It's not Cooper, it's not Harper, it's not Ace. So now you're just hoping that 6 teams passed on the next great thing. That's not a way out of hell. That's not a reasonable way out of hell. There's no free agents in this class out of hell. We couldn't tank this year. I know Dylan makes a fair argument that if we play 4 rookies, it's not tanking. We're just going to suck next year. Okay, that's fine. Maybe that's true. Like maybe we'll suck more next year because we played all the rookies. Maybe, but I don't trust that we're going to suck anyway. I think we're going to win 26 games again next year, be in the same exact position we're in this year. I really do. I'm not. I think we're going to sign. We're going to get into free agency on another show, but I think we're going to sign some middling free agents, and we're just not going to suck as much as it would take to get a top. Like we're not going to be Washington. We're not going to be a bottom dwelling team. We're going to be what we are now. That's really so. To me, the only way out of hell is to get Zion underpriced. We can still draft as long as I don't have to give up this year's pick. I'm open to giving up anything else. I don't know what they want for him. I don't think it's good. I think Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, and 2 1s.
You're open to
I don't
giving
think
up.
anyone else is offering more than that.
You're
Not for
open to
Zion.
you're open to giving up next year's pick.
Yeah.
Not me.
Not at all.
So you don't. Okay. So what if we get draft 8 again next year? I'm being serious. What
I mean, that's the chance you have to take, but you definitely have to do a better job at tanking. And
But
even
we
though
don't-
that doesn't
we have to
guarantee
live in
you,
reality.
So
We have-
statistically,
let me go, and then I'll let you guys. I'll let you guys tell me why I'm wrong. You have to live in reality. We had the worst roster in basketball, maybe worse than the 12 and 70 Nets, and we won 26 games. I don't
True.
trust this organization to know how to tank like Utah or Philly did. I don't trust it. So I think we're going to be drafting 6, 5, 8 again next year. Would I trade that for Zion? Yeah, I would. But I'll let you guys go now. I'll let you tell me why I'm wrong.
yeah, the concern I understand, but when you look at it historically, teams who are younger lose. When you're potentially bringing in 4 or 5 18 to 20-year-olds who have never played in the NBA, you're bound to lose a couple more games, especially if you move on from the cancers of this season in Cam Johnson, right? So, to me, if they don't move Johnson, all right, I can understand your point, but again, I'm not giving up my 2026 pick. I'll give you 3 or 4, Knicks picks. That I don't care about, but I wouldn't touch my own pick knowing Zion's health issues. To me, it doesn't make sense to make a move on Zion, especially if you're giving up Johnson and Claxton. You're at that point, who's he playing next to? A couple of rookies, Cam Thomas potentially, Day'Ron Sharpe. The team just doesn't make sense. I also don't think we're going to even have a remote chance of getting a guy like Zion. I think Detroit is a clear and obvious favorite for him. They are the next team in line to go out and get a star to pair with Cade Cunningham. Players are going to want to play with Cade Cunningham. And seeing what Detroit has done, revamping their coaching staff with J.B. Bickerstaff, who honestly should be coach of the year over Kenny Atkinson. Biased take, but I do believe with the roster that he has over in Detroit and the success that they had this year, he is by far the best coach in basketball this year. Zion, though, with Cade makes all the sense in the world, right? You put those two together, and if Zion stays healthy, that is a duo that is very scary for a very long time. You put Zion in Brooklyn, all right, you're moving him from one fat food area to another. You're putting him in an unserious environment where he's going to be able to fuck around and do whatever he wants. You're going to have to worry about his injury history and his health because the guy likes Burger King, Doritos, and Mountain Dew like there's no tomorrow. It's just, to me, it's not worth it, especially if you're potentially giving up a top 10 pick next year. Like, the difference between this class and next year is this class generational in the sense that from pick 1 through 30, you genuinely have a chance to have a high caliber role player, if not star? Yes. But next year's top 8, top 10, there's about 5 or 6 guys in there that have superstar upside. So I'm not risking that for an obese guy that hasn't done anything in his career. I love Zion. Like, I'm a Duke guy. I have his jersey in my closet. I can show you it. I have a Duke Zion jersey because I am a Duke fan and I absolutely love Zion. But in no world am I adding him to this team next year. If he wants to wait a year and if he wants to come here in 2027 after we draft a top 8 guy, after we drop a hopeful top 5 guy next year, let's talk about it. But until then, stay the course. You got your 2 picks back for a reason. Next year's class, if you fail to land top 3, that's the class to do it. This class, probably not, but the fact that you have 4 first-round picks makes up for that. If you are able to land in the top 5 next year, you're fixing your franchise. So to me, the losses will come with the younger you get. Move Cam Johnson, move Nick Claxton, add some guys through the draft, and just play it out. I really do think it's that simple to tank. Washington, if you look at them this year, was horrible at the start of the season. Why? Because they knew what they were doing and they purposely tanked. They brought in guys like Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton, and they won a couple extra games. Utah, they purposely tanked. Their roster is very good. They have John Collins. They have Jordan Clarkson. They get Taylor Hendricks back at some point next season. They have Keontae George. They have Isaiah Collier. They're drafting in the top 5 this year, most likely. They have Larry Markkinen. They're bringing back Walker Kessler. They have a roster. You know what I mean? Portland was the team that we thought we would be competing with this year for a pick between 2 and 4. they're a borderline play-in team. They're on the verge of being very good with the young talent that they have. They're not going to be worse than us next year. So realistically, if you stay the course, you have to expect teams, especially if Washington lands in the top 3. You get a top 3 pick. Bilal Coulibaly takes a leap like he kind of did this year. Alex Sarr is starting to show why he was the first overall pick. They have youth and they have upside. So to me, we're that team right now that has options to move off of players to gain more financial flexibility and freedom long term, while also being able to put yourselves in an organic position to bottom out and tank next season.
Yeah, no, I'd say,
I want to put this here. I want your take on this. And after you I got some follow-up questions. Well, basically
one
follow-up
I
question.
I pretty much agree with everything Dylan laid out, and but the only thing is, this is not. It's about the timing as well. So, because we don't have our own pick in 27, but we have other teams' picks. That's what you dangle with when it's time after next season's tank. But you got to tank. You got to tank next year. You got to play these guys, play the young guys, draft the 4 picks or whatever, play them, and then see what happens. But you can't pass up a chance to get these guys next year. I mean, some of them, they just showed a game on with how great some of them were. Debanster looked good, and Boozer looked superb. All of these guys, so you can't take a chance of missing out on those guys because you wanted to win 30 games or something. You know what I mean? We gotta tank. We gotta seriously tank. And the only problem, I understand what you're saying, Gary, in terms of what is Mark's mentality, and if we had a stronger owner, he would probably just, if he started thinking like you, like, I'm not sure if I can trust this guy the way he tanked this year, then he needed to be fired. He needs to be fired before we draft next year. So I just hope that we do this. There's no way, Dylan's right, there's no way that we should hang on to Cam Johnson. And at this point, just run with the rookies, man.
Let me. I got counter questions for both of y'all. This is going to be a fun, lively debate. But I want to start with Dylan because Dylan went first. You talked about starting 4 or 5 new guys, 4 or 5 rookies, and that's going to make the team worse. Okay, that's fair. All those guys that you draft going to be worse than Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, and Tyrese Martin? Are they going to be most likely better than those guys?
When you're comparing guys who genuinely are fighting for their lives in the NBA compared to kids who are just getting their feet wet in the NBA. Yes, I do think they are worse in terms of how they can impact winning a basketball game. Those 2 guys that you just mentioned, in Tyrese Martin and Keon, quite literally fought their hardest to get roster spots and tried their hardest every second of every game to try and prove why they belong. Do I think they do? No. But did they kind of switch the momentum of certain games here and there? Yeah. I mean, we watched Tyrese Martin go for almost 30 points in one of those games in which we won. We watched Keon Johnson be an on-ball defender and really cause a lot of problems for certain players. Like, yes, I do think that bringing in younger talent who is not NBA mentally ready because they've never played in it, yes, I do think that results in more losses. It's statistically and historically proven the younger your roster is, especially just drafting players, the more likely you are to lose. So until it's proven wrong, it's hard to not think that that's the correct and logical understanding of how next season would go if you go that route. Like I said, when you're looking at Washington, they sucked. They purposely were losing. They were even trying at times and getting blown out. But then you add Chris Middleton, you add Marcus Smart, you add Jonas Valanciunas. Like, they started winning a couple of games towards the midway point after the All-Star break. So to me, I definitely think that you lose more games by drafting 4 guys. I definitely see that. All right. It may not be by much. It still could be a 20 to 23 win team. I'm not saying that it's 18 or less, but it definitely puts you in a better position next season. And when you look at the current construction of the NBA, Portland has only gotten better. Washington, their youth is starting to really look good. If they strike big on their pick this year, they're going to be better. Utah, if they actually just play their fucking players rather than purposely tank, they're going to be better. It's really hard to say what team, like outside of those 3 teams, Charlotte's better than us fully healthy, especially if they land a top 5 pick. Like, is there
Utah.
really a team in basketball, if Brooklyn drafts 4 players and moves on from Claxton and Cam Johnson, is there really a team that's better than or
Let me
worse
stop
than
you right there. Let me stop you right there. If we don't trade for Zion, what makes you think we're moving on from Claxton and Cam Johnson? Because I agree with that
Value.
they should.
value? I mean,
But-
if Sean Marks gets a phone call from Rob Pelinka and says, "Hey, I will give you Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, and a first-round pick right now for Nick Claxton," and he says no, fireable offense. There's no
but he's
if,
got
ands,
a
or
million
buts.
fireable offenses.
He
Dylan.
does. He does, and I completely agree. But if you're in that position to where you can fully invest in next year's draft class, a year that you already messed up this year and can right the wrong next year, you paid the price to do it. And we kind of talked about this before we started. Every sign visible is shown that this is a Joe Tsai versus Sean Marks decision-making process. Sean Marks has pretty much stated in every interview that he's extremely open and wants to draft a homegrown star because he feels like the Nets deserve it. Joe Tsai, though, on the other hand, wants Giannis. It's clear as day who wants what in this situation, which is why I'm not shitting on Sean Marks right now for this specific reason. But at the same time, the dude needs to grow a nutsack and learn that he's the general manager of the team who can actually build the team and make the trades. Joe Tsai doesn't. So realistically, if they want to rebuild, they're going to rebuild. If Sean Marks is still what I would like to call a cuck to Joe Tsai, then Joe Tsai is going to get what he wants and Sean Marks is going to bend over like he always does. Should he? No. Do I hope he does? No. Just stay the course for one more season. It's not hard. It's really not.
Sean Marks, right? Like, is a cuck. I mean, I'm not trying to get. Like, it is what it. I never understood this, right? Like, if I'm the GM and I believe in myself, then I'm going to make the decisions. If you want to fire me, fire me. I'll go get a job somewhere else. I believe in myself. I believe I'm good at what I do, right? I said the same thing about the Jets, right? When the Jets were told to trade for Devontae Adams, and they were told to bench Tony Adams. It's like, you have a coach and a GM that makes these decisions. If you don't think I'm capable of doing this, then just fire me now, because I think that I am. I'm going to make my decisions. If you don't like my decisions, you can live with them or you can fire me. But I was hired to do a job. I'm going to do that job. Sean Marks does what he's told. I think Dylan is exactly right. That's why, like, to me, that's a good enough offense for me to fire you. If you don't have the ball to stand up for your decision and defend your decision, then you need to be fired. I need someone with a set of balls. I can't have a GM with a vagina. I have to have a GM with a set of balls who will stand up and say, "This is the decision I made. Here's why I made with it. You can live with it or you can fire me."
I need Sean Marks to wake up and realize that he could be the Mo Dingo of GMs. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, this dude needs to just put it all on the table. I'm talking shaft and sack. Just put it on the table and just stay the course for 1 year. It's really not hard. Like, I promise you I could do your job for free, and it's truly a simplistic answer. Bottom out next year. It's not hard. They did it this year with the last 10 games of the season. Like, that you saw exactly how Brooklyn could have done it, and they refused to do it all year long. We played, 15, 16 back-to-backs this year? Cam Johnson shouldn't have played in any single one of those back-to-backs. He should have been out for one of them at least. Right there, you probably lose an extra 3 or 4 games, right?
And now now we passed Philly, right? It's that much better. It's, you know what I'm saying?
It's that much better. Like, it's truly that simple all year long, and they refuse to do it. Washington beat us numerous times, right? Like, you could have lost to Charlotte. I was at the game in Charlotte. You didn't have to blow them out. You didn't have to play D'Angelo Russell. Cam Thomas was out. Cam Johnson wasn't playing. You could have sat D'Lo and had a better chance of losing. You didn't.
When they sat everyone out in January, like when I went to the games, I went to the Pacers game, and I went to, I forget who it was, the Pacers and someone. I went to 2 games in a row, 2 home games in a row. The Pacers and the Pistons, I think. And that's when they had lost like 15 out of 17. It sucked, and I was pissed off that I spent my money, and this is the product. But at least it was a direction. More has been lost due to indecision than has ever been lost due to bad decision. Pick a direction and go with it. And the Nets never seem to do that, which brings me to my next question. I want to push back on what you said.
Real quickly, before you get to that question, can I answer this comment real quickly?
Yeah, please.
This is exactly what's wrong with basketball. Yes, the owner does sign off on it, and that's the issue with basketball today. Matt Ashiba signed off on numerous things. Phoenix is in hell. Joe Tsai has signed off on numerous things. Brooklyn sucks. Like, owners should not have decision-making processes in building teams. Why? Because all they are is rich people who genuinely have no clue what they're doing. All
They're
buying
not
a team
basketball
is
people. They're not basketball people.
all buying a team is in sports is an investment to make money. So no, an owner should have no decision on what the basketball team does. Stick to business, stick to revenue building, and shut the hell up. That's exactly what Joe Tsai needs to do.
All right. LBL, I wanted to push back on a couple of things that you said. You said you wanted to get to Banser or Cam Boozer, and sure, and I want Jason Tatum and Luka. You know what I'm saying? But those guys, I have no
Coulda had
problem
one of
getting
them.
those guys.
All right. But see, also
like-
what I'm saying is if you're making a move for a Giannis, it's just not time yet.
Let's stick
It's
to
just
Zion.
not time
Zion's
yet.
24, 25. Let's stick to Zion. Like,
Okay.
Giannis doesn't make sense for different reasons because he's 31 years old.
But also because he'll probably have us in that hellish
2-3 year
position
window.
of being 4 to 6 or whatever every year and
Only
never
with a
really
2 or
breaking
3
through.
window, limited assets.
That's what I'm
No,
saying. It's
Let me-
like we'll
okay,
just be mediocre.
Hang on. If Zion Williamson went in this draft, where would he be drafted?
Are you talking purely based on
now,
college
this is what
height?
I have to say. Hold on.
Well, no,
Hold
I'm
on.
saying if you
Hold
took
on
his name
before
right
I
now,
answer that. No,
go ahead,
before
go
I
ahead.
answer that, we have to pretend that he's been at Duke all 4 of these years and he's
No,
played
right now,
as
right
little.
now.
No, I'm talking
Right
about,
now,
and
you're
he's
taking-
played as little
No,
as
I'm saying
he
right
has.
now. You take,
Wait, hold
you
on.
take
Let
Zion
me
Williamson,
get the
you just throw him in
understanding on
lottery. You
this.
said you can draft Zion Williamson. You can draft.
Okay,
Zion
so we're
Williamson
talking
in
about
this draft.
current day Zion Williamson has
Current day
played
Zion,
4
where's
years.
he going in
I'm
this draft?
taking him
Yeah.
3. I'm taking him 3.
Me too.
All right, now
I'm
here's
taking Flag and I'm taking Harper over him simply because I at
Agreed.
least know that both of those guys aren't injured and fat and have up.
that's what I'm
Zion
that's
is
what I'm saying. You
injured and
got to
fat,
So
take,
you're
and I don't
getting
want the
a
risk.
chance to get
but you
a
got to
top
take
3
the
pick.
injuries and
But-
out of shapeness into
We're taking all
consideration.
that into consideration. We're still taking
So the
him
thing
3,
is
and
though
that's
is
my
that you
point.
mentioned the thing is though is that you mentioned you would be trading next year's pick. You can't put him in this draft class. You have to put him in next year. I'm taking Darren Peterson. I'm taking Cam Boozer. I'm taking Noah Ament. I am taking Jaden Quintons. I am taking AJ DeBanstead. That's already 5 players I'm taking before
Stop.
Zion.
Okay,
I'm dead serious.
I gotta watch
I'm
these
dead
kids. I
serious.
gotta watch them. I'll get to next year's draft starting after this draft. I will June 27th.
Yeah, no,
whatever,
trust
I will
me.
start
When
next
you
year's draft.
look at these kids play, you would be thinking you're watching like 6-year NBA veterans on the brink of hitting their prime.
They
It's
told me this
disgusting.
crap
what I
last
see.
year about Nolan Traore and stuff. Like, this kid's great. I'm like, I watched him. I was like, I don't
Realistically-
see any explosiveness.
Realistically, he's the one out of the top 5 that they projected to be really good that fell. Everybody else rose. I mean, VJ Edgecombe rose from like 7 or 8 to 4.
VJ did. What about Ace? Ace, they were talking about Ace could go 1 and Cooper could go 2. And I said that Ace was not going to shine at Rutgers. I
No,
thought that was
never.
a bad decision.
Yeah, no, I listen. This year's draft class, I've said from the start, was top 3 heavy with incredible depth pieces. Like, you genuinely could find your Cam Johnsons and your Dorian Finney-Smiths like high caliber role players between 20 and 34. Like there's into the second round, you could be finding high caliber role players. Next year's draft class is very just top 10 heavy. Like, outside of that, I'm not really too sure what the names are, but the top 10 next year, I didn't even mention like Mikal Brown, Caleb Wilson, Caleb Gaskin, Ko Pei, or whatever the hell his name is. Like, the top 10 next year is disgusting. Genuinely, you have superstar to third option caliber star tier players within the top 10. So in no world am I trading next year's pick for, once again, and I say this with all due respect because I love Zion, but I'm not trading my potential top 10 pick next year for an obese, stripper-loving bust. I gotta say bust.
Dylan
I
is
hate
more
to say
disgusted
bust.
by obese people than I am. I like that.
I gotta say bust, and I hate saying that about Zion because when you look at his numbers when he's healthy, he's nowhere near a bust. But in terms of what he should have been coming out of college, with the hype that he had coming out of high school, with the stats that it's just, he is a current bust. That's all you can say about him, and I'm not willing to take the risk on that when you could be adding a phenom next year in the top 5.
The second thing I want to put back on, and I want you both to answer this question, is Mark said this is a 1-year tank. It's a 1-year rebuild. We're going to look to compete again next
And just
year.
to clarify, that's Mark in the comments, not Sean Marks.
Yeah, Mark's in. What up, Nate? Mark, I'll let you address BC's comment. Like, I don't want to call him a bust because he's really good. He played 20 games again. How many games did he play? I don't want to. We'll get.
I
to
think
that
he's
comment
played
in a
over
minute.
55 games twice in his 6-year career.
In 6 years.
Yeah.
So my question is, Mark said this was a 1-year rebuild. He's not getting fired. He's going to be here. Like, for better or for worse, he's going to be here. It's for worse, but he's going to be here. So his plan, and we know that side doesn't like to tank. Side would rather finish 26 and 56 than tank. So what makes you think they're tanking next year when both guys don't want to tank?
Put together a roster that can't win. Young guys don't know how to close. Young guys don't know how to close games.
Maybe what it is well, maybe we have to address what we believe is part of Mark's weakness, which is he doesn't know how to trade. So I guess what we're saying
it's
is
not that he doesn't know how to trade. He just sucks at negotiation. If he has a price in his mind, he refuses to do it. And when that price completely falls on his face and he has to give assets to move players, then he's an idiot. Like, if the guy just learned how to simply negotiate deals, he'd be a very good GM. Like, you could have moved Cam Johnson this past trade deadline for a salary filler and the Hawks' 15th overall pick this year from the Spurs. He refused to do it because he wanted the Hawks 2026 first. Cam Johnson's not worth 2 first-round picks. I'm sorry. Mikal Bridges was not worth 6 first-round picks. I'm sorry. The Knicks just wanted him. That wasn't a Sean Marks deal. That was Mikal Bridges saying, I want to play here. The Knicks coming to Sean Marks to say, here's what we'll give you. And Sean Marks just saying, okay, we'll take it. Like, there's nothing that Sean Marks did in that room.
But you know what this
that's what I'm saying.
But you know what this season, but you know what this season proved, Gary, is, and I'm putting a lot of eggs in one basket for this. So I'm saying one of the things that it proved, which was the unknown before the season started, was how would we do? I think it's like Cy was afraid to tank because he thought that would hurt our attendance. But now that we see that it did not hurt our attendance, that this was probably our best year in Brooklyn, he could do it again next year with the young guys, and people will accept it because the Nets fans will still come out to cheer for guys that they think have upside more than they will for vagabonds who they know are just auditioning for, the CBA or something,
LBL, love you, bro. Absolutely respect you. But Nets games are not filled by Nets fans.
With Nets fans.
It's not.
Oh, no, I know
sorry.
that. But that's
like,
but Cy doesn't care about that. He just cares about
about making the money. Yeah.
I
completely agree.
Like, in order to have a long-term product, right? Like, this is done all the time in my sport, right? In boxing, they fill the venue out. The casinos will comp high rollers free boxing tickets. So in essence, oh wow, look, I have a full venue. None of them are boxing fans. They just stayed an extra night because you gave them tickets to the fight in a hotel.
Sure.
Like, all right, I'll stay another night. And now you have no boxing fans, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you weren't worried about appeasing the boxing
But you know
fans.
what?
You're just trying to make money today.
But
And
the only people but I've been going to Nets games ever since they, I went to a few Meadowlands games, right? But ever since they've been in Brooklyn, I've been in the first part of the block, right? But the thing is, the only people who care whether Nets fans, whether it's 50-50 or less than 50, are some of the players themselves and Nets fans. It's like Cy doesn't care about that. As long as he's selling out the arena, he doesn't care who they're rooting for.
I get it, but let me pause it real quick. Doesn't he
that's
have
also
to,
my point.
Like those aren't long-term fans who are going to return and buy your product. Those are just people who are in New York City. Was it Dylan? I think was saying like 60% of net ticket sales are walk-ins.
Yep.
Like, that's wild. Like,
I had
it's true.
gotten to the final stages of my interview with Brooklyn because I was going to do sales there before I moved down to South Carolina. Like, I was already set to do that, but over 60% of ticket sales for Brooklyn is based on game day walk-ups to the stadium. But that's my point. I don't want to hear about an owner saying, "Oh, I want to get this guy for ticket sales and this, and that," when 65 to 70% of that arena is not Nets fans. Build either a true fan base or build a true team. Go in the draft, build a true team. When you grow homegrown stars, you're giving young kids around the world who are just becoming Nets fans or have been Nets fans for a short time somebody to root for and somebody who they feel they'll be able to root for a very long time. That's how you grow a fan base.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it by trading for 30-year-old Giannis just to appeal to the Greek population a little bit more that travels to New York every couple of times a year. Like it doesn't work that way. So stay to the draft. I can't stress it enough. Like it's one more year. This time next year, we can start talking about going for guys in free agency and trade markets for stars. But
Zion's not available next year. Right?
Zion's gone. And I saw the comment before from Mark. The only two
Zion's
teams
available now.
The only two teams I see even being realistic for him is San Antonio and Detroit. Those are the only two teams.
There's no way San Antonio's bringing him in. I can't. I get why you would say that.
The reason for it
over my dead body.
We'll talk about this with my guy tomorrow, the Spurs reporter. But the three players that they're looking at currently is KD, Giannis, and Zion. Those are like their plan A, plan B, plan C. If Giannis becomes available this offseason, they're going to go all in. If they miss out on him, they're pivoting to KD. If KD gets sent to Houston, then they're going for Zion. They're going to add somebody. But Zion's a perfect fit along with Wemby. Wemby kind of takes away the deficiencies of Zion, right? Zion is an extremely undersized, height-wise, not weight-wise, power forward. He can't shoot the ball. Wemby can, right? Wemby can defend the paint because he's 7'3". Zion can't. The duo makes a ton of sense. And with De'Aaron Fox now being there, again, from what I was told, they're not really worrying about, do we have to keep Stephon Castle now? Do we have to keep Jeremy Sochan, Kendall Johnson?
And that's my question. Are they trading Keldon Johnson? Are they trading Castle? Who are they trading to get?
I think it would be Devin.
If you trade Castle, I don't think you have to give up much draft capital. I think if you're
I think it's Castle, straight up Devin Vassell, somebody else in like 3 firsts. Because
I don't even think you got to do 3 firsts. Like I don't think the trade market for Zion
they have the capital to do so. And if a team like Brooklyn wants to step in and really wants him, you're going to have to pay a little bit extra, outbeat them. And I would assume that Zion wants to go and play for a team that has a chance to win. Brooklyn is not that right now. It doesn't matter how you look at it. We're not going to be winning for at least 2 more seasons, right? And the real reason for that is because you're supposed to be drafting this season, developing next season, drafting next season, developing and seeing how you do before the trade deadline and making your decision from there. You either stay the course for the remainder of the season and go all in the offseason, or you kind of know the pieces that you like and want already and go for a star at the deadline in 2027. Like it's very simplistic on the route for Brooklyn. It's going to be at least 2 more years.
I am all in on trading everything, not including this year's one, together. If that's Cam Thomas, trade him. If that's next year's one, trade him. I don't think we have any other assets anyone cares about. But if it's a deal like Clowney, Cam Thomas, and 2 ones, done. And I think being able to re-sign Cam Thomas cheaply this year, it may put him in that trade. I don't really know if New Orleans has much use for Cam Thomas, but if you want him, he's yours.
I don't see it. I mean, Zion's not even a top 25 player anymore. I'm not building my team. I'm not building my team around a guy that can't stay healthy, can't keep his weight under control, and isn't a top 25 player. Like realistically, you got guys like Cade, Wemby. You have some of these younger guys starting to get to those points where they're in the conversations for top 20. Zion's not there anymore.
I want to address that real quick.
And let's talk about his salary too.
Hang on one second. It depends on what you mean by he's not a top 25 player, because this is staggering what he did this year. He played 28 minutes a game. And I understand he only played 30 games. In 28 minutes a game, he averaged 24.5 points a game, over 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 28 minutes. So his production when he plays,
so think about it.
Top of the league.
Think about it this way. Ready? There's a couple of young players around the league who are starting to get better, right? Around the same age frame as Zion, right? Who would you take, Jalen Williams on OKC or Zion Williams?
I'd take Zion.
over Jalen
Zion.
Williams, who was just an All-Star this year, second
Yeah.
option on the
Jalen
number one
Williams
team in the
plays
league.
every day. These are I get.
That's
his
kind of what
point,
you
and
want
it's
in a
just like-
basketball player.
I know he plays that. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you said to me, who's better at basketball, Jalen Williams or Zion?
Here, I'll pull up
Who
Jalen
would you
Williams
rather
stats right
have?
now. So
That's
this
a
way you
And
can-
different
well,
question.
the thing is, you also have to say, it's hard. You can't not look at the injuries, but at the same time, you also know that this is the reason why he makes so much more money than Jalen. Jalen's not going to make what Zion makes.
Hold on a second. Jalen Williams this season averaged. Jalen Williams averaged this season 21.6 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, and 5 assists. And that was in 32 minutes on 69 games. He also shot 48% from the field and over 38% from three. This is a guy who was an all-star this season on the top team in basketball in the Western Conference. How do you not say that that's a better basketball player? And not to mention, too, he's also one of the best defenders in the league.
LBL, let me make his point for you. You're going to agree with me on this. Derek Coleman, Kenyon Martin. Who's the better basketball player?
Coleman.
Who would you take? For your team, you have to have one of these two guys. Who are you putting on your team?
I'm biased. I'm going to take Coleman. Yeah.
Oh, I'm taking Kenyon Martin. Kenyon Martin's going to play on the court and not be a problem, and not be a fat, drunk alcoholic. Like, Kenyon Martin's going to give me production every night. Derek Coleman's we all agree he's better. He's much better. But, like, if you say...
Yeah,
like,
you're talking about risk, right?
Yeah,
he's
I'm taking Kenyon
a
all day.
risk.
Kenyon's going to go out. He's going to give max effort.
Yeah. I understand.
All right, let me name what we're gonna do is I'm gonna name a couple of players. You guys are just gonna give me yes, I would take him over Zion, or no, I would not take him over Zion. The ones that you guys,
not that he's necessarily better, but I'm gonna take him over Zion.
The ones that you guys say no to, we'll debate, because this is definitely like we got to figure this out, because this is a crazy take to take some of these guys over, or to take Zion over some of these guys. I think Jalen Williams is by far a player you take over Zion. If you factor in all around play and health, Jalen Williams is a better basketball player than Zion currently. That's just I don't see how we can deny that. He can shoot the three. He averages 3 less points a game. He averages 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he's a top tier defender in basketball, right? And he's also
he's always had the defense, but this is the first year he's ever scored like that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're looking at current state of the player, guy who is just an all-star, guy who's the second option on the best team in basketball, guy who stays healthy. All three of those go in favor of Jalen Williams over Zion. The next player I wanted to mention is Cade Cunningham. Do you take Cade Cunningham currently over Zion Williamson?
Oh, God, yes. That's not even close. Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
Paulo Banchero, do you take him over Zion Williamson?
I'm taking Paulo.
Franz Wagner, are you taking him over Zion Williamson? Tough decision, but if you're really looking at it, health, play, impact on winning currently. I'm sorry. I mean, you're talking to a Duke and Zion Williamson fan. Like, this doesn't. I don't enjoy saying this, but I'm probably taking Franz. Yeah. Trae Young.
I'm gonna take Zion.
Zion, I'm cool with taking for Franz, but it's definitely debatable. So right now, I would take Jalen Williams.
Paulo.
Why am I going like Cade and Paulo over Zion? Okay.
Definitely.
Let's go to Atlanta. Trae Young.
No, I'm taking Zion over Trae Young. I don't even want Trae Young, honestly. It's like Kemba Walker. Like, I don't really even want him.
I'm taking Trae over Zion.
But Trae plays more.
Trae plays more.
Yeah, but I don't like what he offers you. I don't like the impact
assists
that he has on the court. I'd rather not have him, honestly. I'd rather, like, that money is so much.
I mean, Zion quite literally has had the perfect team built around him almost since the day that he walked into the league.
You're going to keep coming back that he's a fat, lazy, alcoholic, drunk, that doesn't like basketball. It's going to keep coming back to that, and I get it. I do. Look, I've said this. If
not only
he was
that,
my fighter,
but you know what?
Walked into my gym,
but you know what?
Zion, I like you. I don't want this to get in that way of a friendship. Leave my gym. Don't.
But you know what? You know what's also inflated into what Dylan is saying? It's just the same thing that we're down on Claxton about. It's not just all of those negatives about Zion. It's that he's already getting the money too. You know what I mean?
But his money's not that much. It's $40 million a year. It's not that much. It's not that bad.
It is for 30 games.
Let me get to the next player.
30 games.
Let me get to the next player real quick.
Go ahead.
LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, I'm taking
I'm
him over
taking
Ball. Ball's
Zion.
just injured. Ball's out all the time.
I'm taking LaMelo over Zion.
I get it. Ball, I
Yeah.
think Ball's, but he misses just as much time as Zion
He
does.
definitely misses just as much, but I mean, again, when you're looking at the all-around factor to his game, a 6'7" point guard who can put up 25 plus and 7 plus assists, he can shoot the three. If you put him in a system that is built to win, I could see him winning. Like I can't see Zion winning because of his deficiencies as an undersized four, a non-floor spacer, not a great rim protector. Like there's just a lot of issues to Zion's game because of his height and weight that causes an issue on him for not only staying healthy but also winning. Larry Markkinen. I'm taking Markkinen.
Stop. Come on, stop. No. I could. You can make the argument for the rest of these guys. There's no. Come on. No.
You're not
no.
taking Larry
I'm
Markkinen.
taking Zion.
That's 7 foot, who can space the floor, who can defend. You're not taking that. Also, he stays healthy, even though they're purposely sitting him out. You're not taking that over Zion.
I'm taking Zion.
Jesus. All right, and this is going to be one of the extremely hot takes, which is why I wanted to save it for last. Amen Thompson on Houston. I'm taking Amen Thompson.
That's not. No, I like Amen Thompson, but that's not a building. That's a nice piece. That's not a building block. That's not a foundational guy. I'm taking Zion.
I think he is a second option caliber player in this league. I think he's a more athletically gifted, better shooting version of Ben Simmons.
If you would have said Sengun, I would have taken Sengun over Zion. But you said Thompson.
And I'm talking about prime Ben Simmons, not the bullshit that we saw for 4 years. I'm talking about prime Ben Simmons. If you look at Amen Thompson, he is a lengthier, more athletic, better shooting version of Ben Simmons. He can play make at a high caliber, and he's the best defender on his team, one of the top 7 defenders in basketball. So to me, I'm taking Amen Thompson over Zion. I love the comments from Mark too. Stop smearing on Zion. I'm a fucking Zion Williamson fan and Duke fan. Wake up. Stop being biased. This is not difficult. Zion Williamson is overweight, injured, and cannot stay healthy when he's needed. No. I'm sorry. I'm taking players who are available and better at what they do from an all-around perspective.
And you're paying $40 million.
Yes, and that's better than Ben Simmons in his career.
And you're paying $40 million.
Lou is with you on Thompson. Lou is with you.
Yeah, I mean, when you're factoring in what they did this season for their teams, Amen Thompson is on a top 3 seed in the Western Conference Finals, where he is probably the second option. Jalen Green sucks. Like, I'm sorry,
thought he was
he's
overpaid.
horrible.
They should have never gave him that deal.
No, it's a horrible deal, and it's probably going to be the piece used to get Kevin Durant, which is sad because the Suns
they'll get him. They'll sucker him. Yeah.
But like realistically, it's not a disrespect. It's not a bias. I'm genuinely. I mean, shit. Here, fuck it. I'll go get it right now for you guys. LBL, take
He's
cover the chat
talking
for a
about
second.
his Zion. He's got to go get the Zion jersey. Now, remember, if he gets this jersey, it might actually be. Let's just hope that Dylan doesn't injure himself if he's putting it on. Just show it to us. Don't actually wear it, because if you actually wear it, be careful. Don't trip. I was
Here
saying,
it is.
Don't put it
Zion
on.
Williamson Duke jersey. Please do not ever tell me that I am a biased person. I love Zion. I want nothing but the best for Zion. I would be so happy to see him if we had drafted him to Brooklyn when he was still hyped up and healthy. He's not good anymore.
Gary, I'm not sure if that's authentic because I don't see any.
It's not. I got it for $30 on a Chinese website.
I don't
Either way.
I don't see any. I was gonna say because I don't see any ketchup or gravy stains on it.
No. I got this. I got this from a random website that was selling it years ago on Instagram for $30. Actually, I think it was I'm pretty sure it was a company that reached out to my Nets page for sponsorship for like a promotion post, and they gave me a jersey. But yeah, I mean, look, that's fake as hell. Like, you got a little Duke silver metallic patch thing here. Yeah, it's extremely fake. But yeah, I am a Zion guy. I am a Duke guy. Like,
there's no barbecue sauce on there.
No, I've worn it 3 times. I don't really wear jerseys much. I more so do it for collection purposes. But yeah, like, I'm sorry. There's so many players in the league who are healthier, who are younger, who are better all-around basketball players that I'm taking over Zion Williamson. Sorry.
Yeah, look,
big
the names you
nasty.
gave me, the obvious
big
names
nasty,
of superstar players who are healthy and available. Yeah, like am I taking Paulo or
Realistically,
Cade
the only
Cunningham?
two that
Of
I could agree with
course.
you guys with is maybe I would take Zion over Larry Markkinen and Franz Wagner. Out of the 7 players I mentioned, though, those are the only 2.
The other okay, so we'll end the show on this, and then we'll save everything else for the next show. But this is good that this came up because
Oh, you also got to give the picks for tonight too. There's 2 games tonight.
You want to do that now, and then we'll finish up on this Zion thing because
Yeah,
the Zion
let's
thing took up. This came at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Golden
All right,
State, Memphis. I'm
Yeah,
rooting
go ahead.
for. I was gonna say I'm rooting for Memphis, but I feel like they're already behind 15 zip, and they already got like 10 fouls.
So they're gonna have to win by 15 to win by 2, is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna take Golden State in this game. I think Golden State may make a run. I wish they would have gotten this week rest. I really think that they'd be in good position. But I got Golden State going to the conference finals. In order to do it, they're gonna have to win today. Otherwise, they're gonna lose in the first round to OKC. So I'm gonna take Golden State to get the 7th seed.
I'm going to go Orlando over Atlanta. Paulo historically plays really well with them. I think he's had 30 plus in 4 of his last 5. Yeah, I'm going Orlando over Atlanta. And then for Memphis and Golden State, it's really tough because I like Memphis's roster much better than I like Golden State's. I also do think matchup-wise, Golden State actually faces OKC much better than they do Houston. I'm going to say Golden State. I think it's a very close game, but I do think Golden State definitely handles business. And then if we're going based on the other games, I think Miami beats Chicago, and I think
it's okay.
Dallas.
Just the 2.
Yeah, just
just the 2. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Orlando.
I'll go Orlando as well.
So we're all going Orlando and Golden State. Yeah, we're all unanimous on that.
Yep. I was going to say I got a parlay I'm throwing in. It's 5 to win 496. So we'll see how that works. Franz Wagner 6+ rebounds, Paulo 30+ points, Santi Aldama 3+ threes, and then for tomorrow Andrew Wiggins 3+ threes and Sabonis 8+ assists.
If I just parlayed Golden State and Orlando, what would that pay me?
How much are you putting on it?
Well, I owe you $100. If I put $100 on Golden State and
if you were to do 100 on Golden State and Orlando,
yeah,
it's a -105. 100 wins $95.
That's it. The 2-leg parlay.
Wow.
Yep.
That's whack. That's soft. That's out.
I mean, if you wanted to parlay, if you wanted to do like a parlay of something, to me personally, I would do. Santi Aldama's had 3+ threes in 3 of his last 5 games against Golden State, and it's at a +220. If you were to do 100 on Paulo 30+ points and Santi Aldama 3+ threes, it's 100 to win 476.
The player props always get me because, like, I don't know the other team's strategy to address that player, right? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a 50% boost as well. Let's see. It's on a same game parlay, so you would have to add one more leg. So, like, if you were to do, say, like Trae Young 6+ assists just to have something simple in there.
Yeah.
If you were to do that with the boost, I don't know how much you can throw on that. My limit's $10. It would be 10 to win $72. But without the boost, it would be 100 to win 484. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm throwing.
He doesn't know the player that well.
I'm a $5 and $10 merchant for parlays. I can never do 100.
Let's get back to this Zion thing. The name I really wanted to debate was Trae Young. We just sat here and we compared him to Kemba Walker. I said that's pretty good. Like, yeah, it's a bunch of stats. You're not going to win with them. I don't really even want Trae Young. Like, I would never give him a contract like for what he's going to get paid. I just don't really like. I don't value him like that. I don't want him on my team. He obviously can't defend. He's a low efficiency shooter that's ball dominant. I don't want him. Like, I don't. So I make the argument against him is he's a low value. He's not a winning piece. He's inefficient. He can't defend. I don't want him, which is why Atlanta doesn't want him. Right? Like, give me why he's better than Zion.
Healthier, and his teams are in the play-in every single year. Not to mention he's also been to a Eastern Conference Finals. The guy just wins. You could badmouth him all you want, but he's in a position where he has to shoot the way that he shoots. He's playing alongside a rookie number 1 overall pick who in any other draft class is probably the 13th overall pick. He's playing alongside Clint Capella, who doesn't even play anymore, and Onyeka Okongwu, who's still young and really not that good. Jalen Johnson's out for the season. Hasn't played since like the 30th game of the season. Who else is he playing next to? Karis LeVert, mid. He's got nobody over there. So for him to be inefficient, it makes sense. It's similar to LaMelo Ball's position. If you put them on teams that are better rounded for them, I see their points per game going slightly down, but their efficiencies and their playmaking numbers going up. Trae Young's already one of the best playmakers.
And it's not just this year, though.
Let me address that, right? You said he wins all the time. His career record is 219 and 264. Zion's 109 and 105.
Yeah.
And I understand
that. When I say winning more, I just mean in terms of team success, right? They're in the play-in every single year, even though they're one of the worst rosters on paper usually every year as well because of injuries and just all around construction of the team. Like, they suck. Like, there's no reason for them to be above Philly, Chicago, Miami. Like they shouldn't even be in this play-in conversation right now. And again, they made an Eastern Conference Finals. He beat the Knicks single-handedly. Like, he's done things on his own that not many players can do, nor has Zion done. So again, non-bias. I love Zion. I hope that he freaking gets it together because I've been defending this guy for 4 years with one of my better friends. But if I'm picking a player to stay healthy and win me games, I'm picking Trae Young.
You made a good argument for Trae Young. I still don't think he's a winning piece, and I think his record indicates that. Like, people thought Atlanta was going to be a top team after they went to the conference finals, and he made it to a conference final. So kudos to him. That was 5 years ago. Like,
these comments are crazy.
But you know what? When it comes to for me, Trae's always had a lesser supporting cast than Zion. Zion had so much talent.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, Zion in terms of talent is one of probably like the 5 greatest prospects to come in the draft.
Oh no, I meant around him.
Oh, around him, yeah. I mean, Zion is playing alongside Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum. At one point, Jonas Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram. Like, he's had rosters. And they were the number 1 seed in the West not too long ago. But again, with the health of him and Brandon Ingram, they never figure it out. It's just and even when they are healthy, because they lose in the play-in.
A long time of Young's career, probably John Collins was the best player he had next to him.
Well, John Collins looked like on the verge of being a star, and he kind of didn't take those steps. But I agree.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The pinned comment is disgusting work. I mean, if you look at the teams around the league,
I agree with that 100%.
You agree with trades and free agency over draft?
Yeah, you guys know I agree with that. Like, you guys know.
I mean, Orlando drafted Franz and Paolo, playoff team. Boston, with our own picks, drafted Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, championship. The Cavs drafted Garland and Evan Mobley.
Boston, those were trades.
The Cavs drafted Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, number 1 seed in the East. Nuggets, they drafted Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Jokic, champions.
Let me know
Houston,
where I go. I'm gonna have a lot more than you.
Houston, they've drafted Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, and Sengun, number 3 seed on one of the youngest teams in the West.
Don't forget Jabari Smith.
Memphis, they drafted Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. They traded for Desmond Bane on draft night, so considerably drafted him.
I'm gonna
they were a top 6
and then let me know when you're done, and I'm gonna give you 10 times more examples. Just go ahead. I'll let you go through.
Go for it.
Okay.
The teams that are currently at the top in the top 6 playoff spots, majority of them have drafted their number 1 and 2 option. That's
How much
just
is traded for
factual.
him? How many traded? Okay, let me go. Let me go.
Well, even look at
Uh,
Detroit.
Okay,
Floor is
Detroit.
yours.
So, okay, Boston Celtics traded for Jaylen Brown, traded for Jason Tatum, traded for Porzingis, traded for Drew Holiday, traded for Derek White. Okay, so their entire team.
So let me rebuttal that
I
already.
let you
hold
guys
on
go.
one
I let
second.
you guys
Gary.
go. I'm gonna go now.
But Gary, I
I'm
just
gonna-
want
I
to
let-
say
no,
this.
No. I let you go. When I'm done, then you can go. Knicks
Okay.
signed Jalen Brunson.
They haven't won a
got theirs.
championship.
You just gave me teams like Orlando and Detroit.
I'm talking
Like,
about young
going,
teams
keep
who are
going,
already in
Gary, keep
playoff
going.
contention.
Traded for
Keep going.
Karl Anthony Towns. This team was put together via the trade. The Lakers won a championship. Traded for AD. Signed LeBron James.
One example.
I've just given the Celtics traded for their entire roster.
When you're talking about
Denver Nuggets traded for Jamal Murray. Like,
was he not drafted there?
Well, they traded for the pick to draft him.
But that's my point. That's drafting the player.
But that's
if
trading. That's
no,
trading.
trading for players is when you go out of your way
he said
to add a
trade
new
slash
player to
free
your roster
agency.
from another team.
Sitting there
When you-
and picking guys at
That's like-
7.
that's
isn't
like
gonna
saying-
win you a championship.
That's like saying Kawhi Leonard was an Indiana Pacer because he got drafted there, but on draft night was traded. He has never been a Pacer. When on draft night
Dallas
trades
Mavericks went to
specifically,
the finals. Dallas Mavericks went to the finals.
drafted their
Traded for-
superstar and top 5
Traded
player.
for Luka. Traded for Kyrie.
Drafted.
That's
They
how they got
drafted,
to
they
the
drafted
finals.
Luka.
They traded for
did
Luka.
They did a
They
draft
traded-
Yeah,
swap.
but are
That's
you
draft-
really?
They
That's
traded
drafting the
together.
more
But
preferred
does
player.
that really qualify as a trade?
No,
Yes,
not at
because
all.
They traded for him.
Not at all. And
No,
when
they because
when you look
the
at-
night of the trade, they said they're picking him for someone else. That's
When-
not
when-
the
when
same
you
thing.
are-
Toronto
when you are
Raptors won
trading
because
on
they
draft
traded
night-
for Kyrie.
So
right?
hold
Like,
on for a second. Hold on. If the
I mean, traded
if the
for
Nets
Kawhi.
if the Nets were to trade Cam Johnson for the 15th overall pick this year, you'd be saying that the Spurs drafted him because it was their pick, but we traded for that player.
We traded Cam Johnson for the 15th pick, then we got him via trade. Like, let's say we draft 15.
No, that's
and
not
we,
how
and
that-
we get a steal at 15.
not how that
we got
works.
him via trade.
The player, the
Not working.
team, the
The
team that they
Lakers got
signed
Kobe
with on
Bryant because
draft
they
night,
traded for him.
the team
that's
that they
the-
signed with their rookie contract with is who they got drafted by.
And how did they get that pick? They traded for that pick.
But that doesn't, you're still making the pick. You still have to work out the deal to get the pick that you actually wanted. Like the Luka Trae Young swap, both of those teams agreed to take the opposite player because
Well,
they
let's
preferred
look at
that
it.
player in the draft. Like
Yeah,
that's-
we
that's how that
don't
works.
think of
the
we don't
Boston
think of-
example I can debunk really quickly. You don't know who you're drafting in 4 or 5 years of when you get picks or 2-3 years of when you get picks. Brooklyn's dumbasses want to trade half the picks that they have for Giannis.
I don't think of
But
Kobe
They
as a
stuck
trade.
with those picks and they got rewarded with those picks.
Well,
They drafted
If you don't
players.
think of them as a trade, then I don't know. They traded.
That
for
means
pick.
everything in sports is a trade. That's not how that works. If you get a guy via a pick on draft night, it's because you drafted that player. They could have drafted fucking Lonzo and Markelle Fultz in Boston. And they didn't.
They acquired that pick. They would not have had that pick without a trade.
We don't know if they wouldn't have that pick because they wouldn't have been in a position to keep
No, because
building
we
a
do know
contending
because
team.
they didn't have it, and then they had to give up something to get that pick.
When you whoever you sign your rookie contract with, that's the team that drafted you
Okay.
on paper. On paper,
Well,
right? On a
um,
contract, it doesn't say, "Hey, you were drafted by the Boston
Sure,
Celtics via the
okay.
Brooklyn Nets." Like it
they
doesn't
got
say
the
that.
pick-
It
they
doesn't
were
say
able
that
to
Luka
get
was
that
signed by
pick
the
because
Hawks
of-
and traded
Right, they
to
were
them.
able to get that pick because of the trade.
But everything's a
I
trade
made
then.
a trade. I made a trade, and because I gave something up,
But
I
that means
got
everything's a trade.
better value. That's
But
a
that means
trade.
everything's a trade.
That
means
if we sit, if we sit at 7, if we, let's say we end up like in our mock draft, we got 7. If we sit and pick at 7, that's not a trade. If we trade 7 and Cam Johnson for 6, now that's a trade.
But you're still
Or
drafting the
whatever.
player at 6 that you prefer. That's not like
But
it's at the end of the day when you're drafting a
not
player,
like
you're
they're
drafting a
watching him.
player.
It's
Yeah,
not
you're-
like they're watching him and like Gary. What I'm trying to say is the spirit of it is it's not like they're watching like we draft a guy, he plays all summer league, and then they trade for him. You know what I mean? That's different. But when you're saying, well, the team is drafting because every time they come back and they say, we're not sure if Dallas is going to keep this pick because I think they're trading for some. I think they're drafting for someone else. That means there's a trade that might be announced later. So I mean, it's only because of the NBA, the way that they do it, with the way they call it a trade later. But you're drafting for someone else. So when you're talking about Boston and they used our picks, right? Now definitely we traded that way ahead.
We traded that way ahead, and they could have traded those picks for a superstar to still contend while they were still contending with the roster that they currently had. But instead, they kept the picks and drafted.
That teams tank for years, then get good players, and then are title contenders doesn't work. What does work is signing superstars and then become a contender. Are you going to win a championship? I don't know. It worked for Toronto. It worked for the Lakers. It's kind of.
But what do we consider working?
For the Mavericks when they got Kyrie.
What do we consider working?
Kind of a mixed bag.
What do we consider working though? Because in my eyes, I'm a winner.
Finals,
if you ain't first, you're last.
Oh,
okay. I'm Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. If you don't win a championship, you failed. Like there's no participation trophies out here.
Let me take that to the extreme. The Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s.
And they lost. Yeah, they failed.
Yeah. All right.
They failed because their kicker sucks.
I don't mind the argument.
They failed because their kicker sucks. Like, sorry, but you got second place. Congratulations. Here's your cookie. Try again next year. Like, to me, if you're not winning championships, it doesn't matter.
If you traded for the pick, Lou, that's a trade. I don't understand what you don't understand. If I have something and I value what you have and you value what I have and I give you what I have and you give me what you have, that's called a trade. I don't know what is confusing.
But the problem is that with these trades, it comes to the GMs and the scouting team to still pick the player at that pick.
Agreed.
Boston could have stuck and picked Markelle Fultz and never been what they are today. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation with them because we would have said, oh, well, they drafted a bust. Yeah, well, they drafted a superstar with our pick. They still kept the pick,
you make trades, you
hoarded
have to
the
make good trades. When
pick,
you make
didn't
picks, you have
move
to
the
make good
pick,
picks.
and then drafted with that pick. That's their pick. Like, they took the pick. If you're taking a pick as the team, you're making that decision. That's not the Nets saying, "Hey, I want you to draft this guy because we traded you guys our pick." That's not how that works.
Just like they drafted the player. Here's my point. What's more likely going to get you an impact player? Sitting in
2 homegrown stars that could be between your 1, 2, or 3 option, and then trading.
Let me ask the question, and then you can answer. What's more likely going to get you into contention? Trading for a superstar or sitting at 7 and picking at 7?
Well, let's see. The Knicks haven't made a finals in how many years? And how many times have they tried to do the buy-in and win? How many times have the Nets made the finals in the last 20 years? How many times have they done the buy-in and win? They've all failed.
How many times
the Lakers do it.
Made the finals?
The Lakers do it, and they do it fine because they're in LA and they're one of the prestigious organizations. Boston does it, and they do it fine because they're one of the prestigious organizations in the NBA. The Knicks have not been able to do it in 20-plus years. The Nets have not been able to do it in 20-plus years. No other team is able to buy their championships
when the Nets had their best run, the Jason Kidd era, did they sit and draft Jason Kidd or did they trade?
They drafted Richard Jefferson and Kenyon Martin, and they were able to
trade for Jason. Hold on, Gary.
On draft night,
Gary, you might be forgetting
other guys, and then traded those guys for Richard Jefferson.
But Gary,
on draft night, though, right?
Gary, you might also be forgetting.
Yeah, so we drafted them.
No, but let's look at that roster. They also had a number 2 pick, a number 8 pick, and a number 1 pick, right? They had Kenyon.
Keith Van Horn got traded for nothing, who was your number 2 pick, and when they traded Keith Van Horn for nothing, they got better. I don't know if that's the argument you want.
No, but I'm saying that first team, on that first team that Jason Kidd joined, he joined.
Good. He
joined 3. So he joined 3 top 8 guys.
Agreed. And how good were they? And how good were they before Kidd got there?
Kittles was really good.
The whole point of drafting your talent.
I want to be factual. They were 26 and 56 before Kidd got there. Same record as this team.
The whole entire point.
1 pick and a number 8 pick.
The whole entire point of drafting
That's
1 or 2 of your guys is because you then can go for the missing piece.
All those high picks didn't work. That's my point. Go ahead, Dylan.
The whole entire point of drafting 1 or 2 of your stars is to add the final piece later on. That's the blueprint that has always worked. It works time after time after time. Whether you trade for the young player who has the upside first and then go and draft 2 players after like OKC did, or if you trade away everything, you draft 2 years in a row and you build a contender around them like the Celtics did. Like, Boston was contending at the time, but they never won championships. They drafted Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, developed them and turned them into superstars within 2-3 years, and then won championships. They've been to 2 finals. This is a blueprint of success. If you land a top 2 pick this year, I can understand maybe wanting to accelerate it this upcoming season. But even then, you have a better draft class ahead of you in which you can still land a top 5 pick and go for the superstar the following offseason with the same amount of assets and the same amount of cap space to be able to keep those 2 top-tier players that you just drafted to form a big 3 around a superstar.
We
That's the way you
drafted
do
Eddie
it.
Griffin.
But
Drafted
talking
Eddie
about-
Griffin and
we're talking
traded
about
him for
draft
Richard
classes.
Jefferson. That's a trade.
we're
This
talking
comment
about-
from Mark, you guys don't understand what you're talking about. No,
No,
we
but
did
go
not
back
draft
to
Richard
Lou.
Jefferson.
Go back
By
to Lou's
any
comment.
definition of the
He was
term,
drafted
did
and we traded
draft
for him on
Richard
draft
Jefferson?
night, right?
Go back
He
to
was
Lou's
drafted by
comment.
we traded 3 guys.
On
we
draft
traded,
night, though, right?
Eddie Griffin for 3 guys.
Was it not
Go
on
back-
draft night, though?
Drafted Griffin and then traded back to get
But
3
was it on
guys.
draft night?
One of those guys ended up being much better than the guy that we traded.
But
Go
was
back
it
to
on
Lou's
draft
comment.
night?
Did we draft Richard Jefferson?
But was it on draft night?
Yes, it was on. I believe.
Okay,
was
so
on draft
considerably
night or
that
it
was the
next
player
night?
they wanted to draft, and they got what they wanted.
No,
They drafted
got
that player.
Okay, maybe,
But that's
they
how
got
that's-
him via a trade. That's not.
But that's how that works.
So Gary, go to Lou's comment before Mark's. That's what I agree with.
Okay, the Lakers won a championship that way. So
But the Lakers are a prestigious organization. We're the fucking Nets. Like, that's like saying football terms, right? The Jets, they can trade for everybody they want, and they still don't do shit. But the Eagles
Give
can
me the
draft
bad
players at
team.
32
Give me
and
the
still
bad
win
team that won.
championships.
Give me the bad team that won through the draft.
The Eagles can literally draft
No,
at
no, no, no,
32
no, no,
every
no.
single
In-
year,
in
and they are
basketball,
still
give
in
me-
title
Give
contention.
me. I'm
The
going to give
Jets
you
trade
10
for
bad
everybody
teams.
and can't do
If you
anything.
win through the draft, why is Washington and the Knicks not a dynasty?
Because
They
there are
draft top 10
poor
every year.
organizations that have a lack of funding to be able to gain gain
Knicks?
players through free agency. The Knicks haven't won a championship in 25
Right, that's my
fucking
point.
years.
And
they're a
draft-
high
they draft in
organization.
the top 10 every year. Kevin Knox.
We're
Frank,
talking about
Frank the
we're talking
African,
about draft classes that are nowhere near the level
Can
of
we
these two
say-
that we're seeing.
R.J. Barrett.
Can we say
Like,
San
like,
Antonio?
RJ
doesn't
Barrett's one of the
work.
best third options in basketball. It
So why didn't the
ultimately
Knicks win a
landed them
championship? Why didn't the
a
Knicks compete with them?
superstar.
Why did the combination of Kevin Knox, Frank the African, and R.J. Barrett
All right.
not take
All
them
right,
into
let me say
contention?
this. Can we say Golden State was bad when they drafted Curry?
They were
That's
horrible.
the last example. If you hit a home run, if you get Joker in the second round, if you get the second best play I've ever seen in my life, Steph Curry, or the third best play I've ever
No,
seen.
but
in
I
my
mean,
life,
but
seven,
remember, they
things
also
can
got,
work out.
Fact.
but they also got
You're
Green and
counting
Clay
on a miracle.
Thompson, right? But they
This-
also got
this is
Green and Clay
factual.
Thompson.
This is factual. On draft night, where did he fly to after? He goes home
It's
to
not-
the team that
it's-
drafted him, not the
Nets didn't
team that
draft him.
traded and
in
drafted.
any way, shape, or form. The Nets draft. It's not like there's no.
When you
argument
trade
that
for a
can make
draft
that
pick, it's because you prefer that player in the draft. You were just getting something in return
No,
or
because
giving up
Houston
something to
called
get
you
them.
up and said, "I really like the guy you drafted. What's it going to take for me to get that guy that you drafted?" And you say, "Give me all 3 of your picks." And then they say, "Okay, I will do it." That's not me drafting him. That's Houston calling me up and
That's
saying,
still
"I
you
want the guy
preferring a
you
player via draft that you want more.
picked." Okay, then it's still a trade. There's no way.
But like I've
0%
said,
chance that
but like I've
that's
said
not a
before, though,
trade.
then pretty much everything's a trade. Like
Okay,
like-
then if that's how you want to.
Like that's like saying that's like saying the draft lottery is exactly where you should be
You can-
picking. No,
you
you
can
could be
make
at 10 and
arguments-
pick at 1.
All right,
Is that
so
the,
There's no
is
way
that the
that
worst
technically-
team in the
there's
league's
no
pick?
way
Gary,
you can argue anything
Gary.
other than the Nets drafted Richard Jefferson. being a
Gary,
There's no-
technically
there's-
you're
there's no other
But what else?
logical
What
answer.
else is there?
Gary.
Because the Nets haven't drafted.
Gary, technically you're correct, but
From
nobody.
a technicality standpoint, yes.
Yeah,
That's
but
not what we're
nobody.
debating.
But listen to the Bulls team. Nobody considers, other than Jerry Krause fans, nobody considers that Pippen,
Pippen
was
they got
originally-
via a trade. 100% they got Pippen.
but
via
he
a
got
trade.
traded for Alden Parlinase, and Pippen
That was a
never
dumb
played
trade.
for
It was still a
anyone.
trade, though.
But I'm saying, but
Kobe
he
Bryant was
never
traded for
played
Vlade
for
Divac.
anyone before playing for the Bulls.
I don't understand how it's not a trade. I don't understand how
It was
I
a
have-
trade. It
I
was a
have
trade.
A,
Like
you
I
have
said,
B.
technically.
I want B, you want A, and we trade them. How is that not a trade?
No, it was a trade technically, but
Okay.
what I'm saying is, remember when Pippen, which one day we hope will happen with our
And we
young
can
guys.
use the same argument for Scottie.
No, but I'm
Pippen. I
saying,
mean,
but
for Kobe
remember,
Bryant. Kobe Bryant was traded.
migraine Pippen. Remember when he was young
Yeah, I remember.
and and he get migraines against Dennis. We watched him grow into the great player he became, and only one team got to do that. That was the Chicago Bulls.
Cool.
He was
still traded to the Bulls.
His original team didn't get to watch him grow and develop.
They got Olin Pollard.
Exactly. From the Bronx.
Is he from the Bronx?
Yeah.
He got arrested twice for impersonating an officer and pulling people over.
but that's my point. When you think of him, you think of Scottie Pippen as a homegrown Bull. You don't think of him as,
Yeah, because Mark, that's because you can't articulate an argument, right? The reason why you say stop is because you can't articulate an argument. So you just want the other person to stop being right. If you could come in here, I'll give you the link. If you can come in here and shut me up, right? And you can say the Nets did not trade for Richard Jefferson.
I love it.
Drafted Richard Jefferson. Then I will give you the link, but you can't do that. So the only thing that you can do is please have him stop talking. It's making me look bad. Have him stop because it's making me look bad. That's all you can do. Right? I never ask anyone
Send the
to stop
link.
talking. I said,
Send the link. Let's see it.
Go through the whole list. And then when you're done, I will rebut everything you say. I don't say, please stop, Dylan. You've given me too many examples of why I'm wrong. I'm like, okay, give me all the teams you want. When you're done, I will give you more teams that did it my way. That's what I say. I don't say, please have him stop. I'm going to drop.
All right. So now we could stretch the argument a bit and say, okay, Gary, give us.
There's no way the Nets drafted Richard Jefferson.
No, hold on.
Names.
I'm saying, Gary.
Even Richard Jefferson said it on the other night when he was on commentary that he was drafted by the Nets. That this was the team that drafted
by
me.
the Nets. He wasn't.
But considerably after draft night,
day.
he was a Net and he was signed to a contract by the Nets on a rookie deal.
That
is the team that took a chance on him.
The Nets didn't.
That's the team that took the chance on him. That's the team that considerably drafted him.
If Houston doesn't call you up and say, I want this guy, is he a Brooklyn Net?
But Gary, you're comparing. This is a false equivalent.
I haven't compared anything to anything. I said that Richard Jefferson was drafted by another team. That team called up the Nets and said, I want the guy that you drafted. What do I need to get the guy you drafted?
All right, but this is the only thing that I'm saying. Comparing Richard Jefferson being traded from Houston to the Nets to Zion being traded from New Orleans to the Nets, that's a whole different.
I'm muting up. Enjoy, fellas. I'm gonna laugh.
All right, go ahead, Mark. I'm gonna mute up too. You want to cook me? I'm 100%.
Nah, Gary, you're just so far off on it. If you make a trade on draft,
let's address what you're saying. What have I gotten factually wrong? Show me what I've gotten.
No.
Wrong.
From a technical,
I don't want your opinion. I don't want your opinion on anything. I want to know what I was factually wrong about. Go ahead.
You're not factually wrong about anything you said.
We're done. So I'm factually wrong
from a factual
nothing.
standpoint. But from
Leaf, you're up. What's up, Leaf?
Yo, my bad. What's going on?
I was factually wrong. So he came on, Gary, you're so far off. What was I factually wrong about? Oh, nothing. This is what I have to deal with. Go ahead, Leaf.
Well, I don't know. Look, I wasn't even concerned about who was factually wrong about what this, that, and the third. All I know is basically the two pick in the case of the Celtics. Basically, they got two picks that wasn't initially theirs from us, and then traded for everybody else, and then won one championship. That's basically it in a nutshell, man. I don't know, like if y'all want to decipher whether it was draft picks or whether it was trades on draft night. Obviously, it wasn't, man. We already know what it was, but I mean, to me, it don't even matter, bro. Like, we got to figure out our own, huh?
Are you talking about Boston?
Yeah.
Who are the two best players in Boston?
Brown and Tatum.
The two guys they drafted with our picks. But
I mean, I didn't say they did draft.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when you look at the teams, right? Gary said, "Oh, well, you traded for the players to win the championship." Correct. Nobody's doubting that. What I'm continue to say is you need to draft one or two superstars before going after a superstar. You need to have your foundational young pieces before adding the guy to get the deal done. That's how championship building works in almost any sport.
No, but there's no exact blueprint. Every team goes about it a different way. Like,
you're correct.
That's
There's
like
not
saying
an exact blueprint. The exact blueprint is if you're not the Lakers or the Celtics, you pretty much need to draft one or two of your guys if you even want to get back into playoff contention. Brooklyn as a whole, or I should just say the Nets as a whole, have not done shit unless if they at least have one drafted guy or two drafted guys to either A, pair together with a star, or B, use those two guys to go get stars. That's how it works every single time. No matter how you look at it, though, you always need a young player within Nets franchise history to go out and get a star later on, whether it's adding him along the young guy or trading the young guy for the star. You always need something. That's factually correct, right, Gary?
Let me ask you this question. If we draft Trey Johnson, whatever, or fill in whatever name you want, and then we trade Trey Johnson on draft day.
Man, I ain't gonna say this shit no more, bro. We getting Cooper Flag, and I don't want to hear it no more.
Okay, fine. Cooper Flag. We draft Cooper Flag.
Can we have Leaf live with us on draft lottery night?
Draft day. We take Cooper Flag and we trade him on draft day for Zion. Did we draft Cooper Flag?
Sorry, repeat that because
we draft Cooper Flag.
Yes.
It's a hypothetical because he wanted to go Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating. It's a hypothetical. Mm-hmm. If we draft Cooper Flag and then on draft day trade Cooper Flag to New Orleans for Zion.
Hell no.
Then the New Orleans
the trade. I'm just asking. Did we
in terms of Adam Silver going to the board and saying in the 2025 draft with the first overall pick, the Brooklyn Nets select. Outside of that, the New Orleans Pelicans drafted him because they got him on draft night. They signed his rookie contract. He's playing his rookie contract with the New Orleans Pelicans. They took the chance on him. That's considerably drafting him.
That's like saying, Gary, that's like if we get the 6th pick and we trade up to 2. Okay, we drafted Dylan Harper. But I guess, like, if from a technical standpoint, you want to say we drafted Dylan Harper via trade, like that's.
Trade. But the Richard Jefferson thing's not even.
But you drafted him though, like that's that.
From the technicality standpoint.
Yeah. But from the reality of it, you drafted the guy. Like you drafted him by trade, But at the end of the day, you still scouted him. You still set on the one guy, picked him, and brought him into your organization and from college or however.
You undercover, Mark?
Because drafting doesn't work, so you traded for him, which does work, which is my entire point.
From a technicality standpoint, I don't think a single person here is disagreeing.
I mean, I don't give a damn how it worked, bro. We getting Cooper
from the morality standpoint of how you get the player. When you sign a rookie contract with the team, that team is the one that is considerably taking the chance on you and drafting you.
But what's so interesting about Gary's argument is he uses the Jaylen Brown and Tatum argument, but then the thing is, we were the one that got the instant players, Kevin Garnett and all of them, and we definitely failed. Like, who was the winner of that trade?
Gary, that's like saying Tatum and Brown. We drafted Tatum and Brown. That's
trade is irrelevant.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
In every trade, there's a winner and a loser. They won that trade. How did they get Brown and Tatum?
Gary, you know how Mark and I are, but he even just said it in the best way possible. So what you're saying is the Brooklyn Nets drafted Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
No, the Boston Celtics drafted them.
Okay, and they did it with our pick, which is because they drafted them. You just said it. They drafted them with our pick, but you just said they drafted them.
You guys understand what a trade is?
No, we understand how they got there. We're not disagreeing.
We understand it.
Were those the Celtics picks, or were they picks they traded for?
You can trade for a pick. You have to make the decision to draft the player. So they drafted the player.
Did they trade for those picks?
Well,
technically, we all agree with that.
They traded for it.
But it was drafted by the Boston Celtics,
but
right?
Technically, in the parenthetical,
and they got to be in the trade.
But technically, in the parentheses, it says via Brooklyn.
If they had not made a trade, they would not have been in position to get either one of those players. They got those players because they traded for the picks.
From a personal standpoint, the team that you play for on game 1 of your rookie year is the team that drafted you.
If anybody is saying that the Nets drafted Tatum or Brown, you're trolling.
I don't care if you were.
I don't care if that argument. They got Brown and Tatum via trades. That's how they got them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Here, listen. My personal standpoint.
Every guy on their team they built through a trade.
My personal standpoint, the team that you play for on game 1 of your rookie contract is the team that drafted you. I don't care if you were traded. I don't care if the pick was traded 5 years before and the team selected the pick then. I don't care if the pick was traded on draft night to a team for them to draft them, or if the pick was traded 3 picks after they already selected the pick so they can trade back 3 spots and give up the player. I don't care how that works. The team that you play for on your rookie contract is your
draft night. I believe the team that drafted you and call me crazy, call me a conspiracy theorist.
Crazy,
I believe the
crazy.
team that traded you, I'm sorry, the team that drafted you is, I don't know, the team that drafted you.
So Gary, should the Atlanta Hawks put up, like when he retires, should the Atlanta Hawks put up a jersey because they drafted him?
Why should they do that?
But they
They
drafted him.
him.
Okay, so what?
He's a Hall of Famer, and they drafted him.
Okay, if that's what you want to do, you could do. I wouldn't do it because he didn't play for my team. I don't really understand your argument there. But
Because I'm trying to tell
We
you,
don't really understand your
he's a
argument.
Dallas.
okay, let me make my argument very clear, and then repeat it back to me so I understand that you heard me correctly. I
Oh,
believe
man.
that the team that drafted you is the team that drafted you. Now repeat it back to me. Repeat my argument back to me so I know that you understand it.
Team
Oh,
that
the
did
team
use the
that
team that
drafted
drafted you.
LBL, let him say it.
Go ahead.
Mark, say it again. I'm sorry.
Gary.
Go ahead. The team
The
that
Suns
drafted
didn't
you
draft
is the team-
Rondo.
Cool.
The Nets
Now
didn't
repeat-
draft
cool.
Jefferson.
Awesome. Now repeat my argument back to me. The team that drafted you is the team that drafted you.
Yeah, the team that drafted you is the team that drafted you. The pick.
Hang on, stop. Do you understand that as an idea? Yes or no?
I guess from like
Yes or no? Do you understand?
a
that?
simplistic form of what you're saying, I
So,
guess.
yes.
If you
No, not I guess. I want to make sure you
Nah.
understand my position. I don't want there to be any confusion. Do you understand the position that the team that drafted you is the team that drafted you?
are you want the Suns
I
to
wanna
get
know-
credit
I
for
just
drafting
wanna
Rondo
know
and
if-
trading
I
Rondo?
just want to know if you understand. that as a
Nah,
concept.
Gary, you're far off on that.
Okay. I just
No,
want,
let's say it
give
like
me your
this.
opinion
No,
on
no,
you
let's
talk
say it
about
like
the weather.
this.
You can tell me what your
Gary.
lucky lottery numbers are right
Gary.
now. I just want to know. I want to make sure he understands it before we move forward.
No, you're
Because if not,
right.
I'll try to
You're
explain
right.
it again.
You're right. The team that drafted you is the
Do
team
you
that drafted
understand the
you.
concept that the team that drafted you is the team that drafted you?
But the first team you played for.
Can you let him answer? Please let him answer the question. Do you understand that as a concept? Yes or no?
Who? Me?
Mark, do you understand that?
The team
Yes
that
or no?
drafts you is the team that drafts you.
You understand
Okay,
that concept?
from
Yes or
from
no?
a simplistic answer,
All right.
technically you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
okay, so stop. You don't have to say you don't understand anymore. LBL, what's your point? Go ahead.
Oh no, my point is that your first team is your first team, right? And so what you're saying is
I've never suggested anything other than that. Like, yes, I understand your first and your second team is your second team.
all right. So what I'm saying is when you're talking about, when teams, because what you're not allowing for is the agreements that people make before the draft starts, right? That might be trades, like what you're saying, right? You're saying they might be trades.
You got those
Yeah.
guys because of trade. This is like.
I understand.
You guys
You got-
want it
you
to
got-
be that you're the Washington Wizards, and then you hit on 2 picks, and then you win a championship. It doesn't work that way. Hardly ever. It worked for Golden State. That's it. And then they signed Kevin Durant, right? And then they got 2 more championships. But it doesn't work the way you guys think it works. It doesn't.
Well, I'm gonna say this: if KD hadn't left OKC, they might have won. They, because we may not have the chip proof, but we definitely have had enough teams like the Thunder that they had KD, Durant, Ibaka, and Harden, and they all made. What was the principal? Who were the major players of that team that made the finals? Where did they come from? From trades or from drafting?
I don't even know. What is your question? I'm sorry. What's the question?
I'm saying OKC.
Yeah.
With Durant, with
Westbrook
and Harden. Yeah. Did those guys come from trades or did they come from drafting?
As far as I remember, they all came from the draft. I could be wrong.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the model.
Okay, so your last example of this is 15 years ago. All right.
Well, it could be sooner
I think that makes
said.
my point, not yours.
I'm saying it could be sooner.
And who did they lose to? A team that got Chris Bosh and LeBron James in free agency. You know
All
what
right.
I'm saying? Like,
Oh no! Hold on.
Yeah.
Can you use LeBron James because he was when him and Kyrie won? They were both drafted by the Cavs.
And they got Oh, hang on. This
From
is
a technical
So
standpoint,
who did OKC lose to in the finals?
Miami.
Miami.
Okay, and did they get LeBron James and Chris Bosh via draft or via free agency?
Free agent.
Like via
Okay,
trade,
so
because
they
they
won
were
that
both
thing.
signed and traded. If you want to be technical,
Yeah,
if we're being
trade.
technical,
so trades and free agency, not through the draft. They didn't get either guy through the draft, correct?
well, everything is done through trades. What regardless. Look,
I don't understand your argument then.
no. Look.
I
All
don't
right.
even understand this
No,
argument.
Wait,
no.
hold on.
It's just
Let me
the goalposts are moving
let me
so
mediate.
far.
Let me mediate, Gary. When the Nets got Kevin Durant, did we sign him or did we trade him?
It was a sign. They got him through the ladder. So they got him through free agency and a trade. It was a sign and trade.
Okay, so considerably we traded for him, correct?
Correct. Technically, yes.
So, okay, exactly, technically. But
Technically.
how do the Nets put it, right? Clean sweep. We signed 3 free agents.
Facts.
So
Okay.
you can pick and
They
choose
still
when.
didn't draft him. So the argument that Lou made, I think it was Lou. I don't remember who it was at this point. Was that trades and free agency? So how Kevin Durant's one of those two things. I guess we could debate which one he actually is. Trades and free agency is greater than the draft, and I agreed with that statement. And the next
Before
guy,
the CBA, yes. And everybody can agree with that, probably. Yes. But you're looking at a new CBA that literally shows having players on rookie contracts is the most beneficial thing that you'll do long term for building success. You cannot bring in 2 free agents anymore. You cannot trade for 2 guys making $50 million each. It's not possible anymore. So what do? You draft 1 or 2 guys, one, hopefully both, turn into stars, and once you have the cap space, go out and sign the missing
but
piece.
what are the odds of that? Like, what are the
Well,
odds
over
that
the next
both
2 draft
Davey
classes
and
with the
Jason
current
Tatum-
hype and
it's
level
like,
of these
okay,
players, it's
the
high.
Lakers picked in the top 3 years in a row. What did they get out of it? They got nothing out of it. They got Brandon Ingram.
How do you
Got Anthony Davis out of it. They got a championship out of it. That's what put them in the spot.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
A bunch of draft picks that were garbage, and they top 3 picks, by the way. All of them got you nothing, and then you traded. Exactly my point. Trades greater than drafts.
But then they have to.
So look, you guys are both right.
get-
Like that's a good example of you both being right because
Time out.
you build your value and your team through the draft, and then you assess where you are at that point, and then you make your move. So you guys are both right in that way for how that team was built.
Let's do it this way. We're gonna take this draft class and we're gonna take what we think we'll get next year in the draft. We're currently at 6. There's a lottery. Gary, what pick do you think we're getting this year?
I think we're getting 2.
Okay. LBL, what pick do you think we're getting this year?
4.
Okay. Mark, what pick do you think we're getting this year?
I think we end up 2, however we get there.
Okay, and I think we're getting 7. If you take those 4 numbers and divide it by 4, that means it's roughly we're picking 4. Okay, so 4th overall picks historically. We'll look up that first. 4th overall picks historically in the past couple of years. You have Stephon Castle, Amen Thompson, Keegan Murray, Scotty Barnes, Patrick Williams, DeAndre Hunter, Jaren Jackson. We'll just go based off of those 7. There's others too that have turned into stars, but we'll stick with those 7s. Russell Westbrook being one of them. Scotty Barnes, all-star. Amen Thompson on the verge of being an all-star. Stephon Castle looks to be a potential all-star. Correct? Jaren Jackson has been an all-star. So 4 out of the 7 picks look to be on trajectory of an all-star. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next year, what do you think the pick is that we get if we stick with the current roster, draft, stay young, and bottom out? What pick do you think we get next year?
It probably falls in the same range. Like if like high upside, whatever. If we lose the lottery, you're pretty much saying the same thing.
Let's
I
just say
say
we're a bottom
3.
5 team.
I say 3.
Let's just say we're a bottom 5 team. We can pick between 1 through 7. What are the picks that you think we're
I
getting?
say 3. I say
3.
3.
Okay.
Put it in the middle.
Gary,
Yeah.
what do you think?
6.
6. All right. And Mark, what do you think?
Say 3. Same shit.
Okay. And I'm going to say 2. That's 14. You're going to divide that by 4. It's roughly 3.5. So let's go with pick 3. We'll up ourselves this year. All right. 3rd overall picks historically. Over the past 7 years, we'll compare again. Reed Shepard, don't know about him yet. Scoot Henderson, so far doesn't look that great. Jabari Smith, no. Evan Mobley, all-star. LaMelo Ball, all-star. RJ Barrett, 3rd option, borderline star. Luka Doncic, superstar. Jason Tatum, superstar. Jaylen Brown, superstar. Joel Embiid, superstar. Okay, so if you were to draft 4 and 3 over the next 2 years, you have roughly a 60+% chance of drafting 2 stars.
Okay, and let's say you're right. Let's say we get Scotty Barnes and Ball and Barnes. Right, I'm going in the middle. I'm not taking the best. I'm not taking the worst. Ball and Barnes. What do you got? You got nothing.
You have a foundation. You have a team that's a piece away.
Ball and
You have a team that's a piece away. You have two borderline all-stars. You have two borderline all-stars that's looking for the superstar.
You got
plus you got salary cap space and picks.
And you also have them on rookie contract.
It's no guarantee. It's no guarantee because
you have assuming that this is a team that we have in place, you have Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, and Cam Johnson making $100 million. So you don't have cap space.
We got the Charlotte Hornets. We're the Charlotte Hornets in that regard.
Is that what you want to be?
No.
Neither.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying Cam Thomas, Claxton, and Johnson with LaMelo and Scotty? That's how the team. Okay, okay. You're packaging Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton plus whatever you have else left and picks for a superstar. You don't think a team that consists of LaMelo, Cam Johnson, a superstar, and Scotty Barnes is something that has a chance to win in the East? By far.
I'm just saying right now what you've built, right? You got the picks right. You didn't pick bad guys. You picked good players. You got Ball and Barnes, good players, all-star players. You have a 500 team. You're a 7 seed. You're a 6 seed. Like that's what you are.
With LaMelo and Scotty, with the current
roster. Let's go to his scenario. We trade next year's pick and some of these picks and
you get
a couple
Zion,
of players to get Zion.
You get Fears this year.
Okay.
You get Zion.
Okay.
And
you have no Nick Claxton. You have no Cam Johnson because that's the package for Zion that you claim.
Yeah. Thank
okay.
God.
So now you have Aaron Sharp as your starting center.
And then Zion at the 3, 4, whatever the hell you want to call Zion.
And you have
and you're re-signing Cam Thomas in this instance, right?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming we're all assuming they re-sign. I'm trying to keep it as realistic.
What's the contract that you think is realistic for him then?
22 a year.
Okay, so the 22 million a year on top of the 37 million that you're adding with Zion that year, you're clearing out roughly 45.5 million from the Claxton trade. So you're pretty much canceling out that. You're still roughly at 50 million in cap space. Now you have to sign the 4 picks that you have. That's roughly another 25 to 30 million. Now you have like 15, 20 million to spend. You're building a team that's a top 6 seed in the East with that team?
I mean, that depends. No. If Zion plays 65 games a year, yes. If he plays 20, then obviously not. But that's the risk I'm willing to take.
So in 6 seasons in the NBA, he's played 2 where he's played over 50 games.
I get
it. Gary, I think I hear what Gary's saying. Gary's saying by let's say you draft Jeremiah Fears and then you trade for Giannis this summer, you're more likely to contend with Giannis on your roster than whoever you want to name as a yes, and you're not wrong in that way. Yes, where Dylan is saying it's more beneficial to just stock your assets, draft, build up your talent, and then make your move later on. You guys are both not wrong. It's just it could go either way.
The problem is I agree we're both not wrong, but again, history always repeats itself. I love history. I'm a weirdo. I absolutely loved it in middle school, high school, college. History always repeats itself. The Nets have done this 3 separate times where they have tried to accelerate rebuilds and waste a ton of assets. What were the results? Not a single Eastern Conference Finals, correct? We traded for Vince Carter, never made it back to the finals, nor the Eastern Conference Finals. We traded for Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and we never made it out of the first, second round?
Second round.
Okay.
We traded for Darren Williams.
We brought in Kevin Durant considerably through free agency, even though it's sign and trade. And then we brought in Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan. Then we traded for James Harden. Then we traded for Ben Simmons. And within those 4 years of that, we didn't even make an Eastern Conference Finals. How many times do we want to repeat the same scenarios? How many times? It's like a kid who's disobedient as a young kid and keeps getting the belt to the ass, but continues to do the same shit.
Let me try again. Let me try it the other way. We drafted Kenny Anderson and drafted Derek Coleman.
Yes.
Didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. We drafted Keith Van Horn, number 2. We drafted Kenyon Martin, number 1. Didn't get anywhere.
And then we used Keith Van Horn in a deal in which built a championship roster that made the finals, correct?
Through the trade, right? Well, they already had a champion. Keith Van Horn and Kenyon Martin by themselves didn't get anywhere. That's what I'm saying.
They
got to the finals.
And that's what I'm saying, though. Is I'm I'm not saying two drafted
traded for.
stars is what builds you a championship contender. I'm saying that that's the foundation to add the missing piece. You can't add the missing piece without having the pieces, and we currently don't have the pieces.
I
Like
agree,
Cam
we're in
Thomas is
hell.
not the
I
piece.
agree with you.
Nick Claxton
I
is not
agree.
the piece.
Agree.
Noah Clowney,
I agree
Jalen
with-
Wilson, these guys aren't the pieces. So you need to
Definitely agree with
draft the pieces before going for the star. If you go for the star too early, you're setting yourselves up to have to waste everything, waste the development of your youth to then try and contend for a guy who's 300 pounds, 24 years old, and plays 30 games a season.
Whenever
I
you
can't get
phrase
behind
like
it.
this, I look really bad.
I can't get behind it. I love Zion.
I look
I-
really bad.
I love Zion. I can't fucking get behind it.
But
I just
each
can't
build, like
do it.
each way you guys are saying, like there's examples of winning and losing going each way, going through the draft and not succeeding, and actually succeeding through the draft. There's
See, the
ways of
thing
showing
is that
free
with the
agency winning and free agency being a bust. Like
If you
it goes
fail
both
in the next two
ways.
draft classes, then by all means, never do that shit again. That's how
I
confident
hear
am
what
in
you're,
these next
Dylan.
two
I
draft
hear what you're
classes.
saying.
These two
I
draft
hear what you're
classes
saying.
are
You're
better than
saying
any two
you
draft
want to
classes
try
I've ever
something
had.
different. That's what you're saying. You just want different,
Yes.
and so that's
I feel like
and I'm
it's been a while. We drafted Derek Favors. Then we
The
traded.
last time we had a lottery pick, I was
You
fucking
traded
11
it
years
right
old.
away.
I
Well,
was
at least
11
he
years old the
played.
last time I had a
He
lottery
played a
pick.
few games. At least Favors
He
played.
did. He
a few
did. He
games.
played till the deadline, roughly about the deadline. Yeah, I know. And they
but
traded him for
there's
D'Lo.
no exact way to figure. You know what I mean? So like that's why I like. It's got to materialize, yeah, and it's frustrating. Like Gary's literally going like it's frustrating, yeah, just thinking about it and just because it is ways where, all right, yeah, the lottery doesn't work out, or we draft somebody and it doesn't work out, or we draft a guy and we trade like it and that doesn't work out. Like there's 29 examples every year of it not working out in the
But
NBA,
if
and only one example of it actually working out. So like,
No,
But
but that's what I'm
Mark,
saying.
if
If you
we
go
look
to
at
the
the top
finals-
five guys, if we look
If
at the
you go to
top
the
five
finals,
guys
I
for
would say
both
that's working
drafts,
out. Like,
this
if we
year
went
and
to the
next year,
finals, I would say that's a
those
good season.
guys are projected
But-
to
But
be
like I just said
multiple-year
though, with
all-stars.
the construction of Zion, you have Cam Thomas, you have Jeremiah Fears, you have three other drafted picks. You don't have Cam Johnson, you don't have Nick Claxton. You have minimal space to improve the roster. That team you think is making the NBA Finals. I don't
The
think it gets out of the
finals,
first round.
Not as presently constituted, but you
I
have a
don't-
window now. You have two young stars. You have a
But
window
that's the
now.
problem. You just took the window that's this long. You got this much window with the picks that we have and the youth that we could potentially draft, and you're turning it into this. You're turning it into an obese,
I don't-
fat Zion Williamson window that has maybe
Look-
3 years of health left before he falls on a couch. That's
Look,
just
I
it doesn't
agree
work.
that If Zion Williams resorts to being fat, lazy Zion, which I agree. Most of the evidence suggests he's going to resort to that.
If he
guy.
can do it in Louisiana, he can do
Dylan,
it in New York.
Dylan, we
it's,
can-
it's really that simple.
We can all agree it'll be a drive-through window.
I mean, shit. Fast food and strip clubs are going to be having a hell of a time if he ever got here, but I don't
Oh,
want
if you've
that.
been in
I'm
New
good.
Orleans,
I already
my
watched
but you
it.
don't know that
two-
though. Like a part of it could be he doesn't want to. He never wanted to be in New Orleans. Like you got to take that into account too. He
All
never
right,
wanted
well,
to be
Yeah,
there.
but why not though? Like
Supposedly he
maybe
wanted to
it's-
be with the Knicks, and now
I
we're going to
hear
take him to
you.
the rival team. That's considerably poverty compared to the Knicks.
I
I'd prefer.
I
not to
agree
do
with
that.
you guys, but I'm just saying, like, you have to put the context behind it. He never wanted to be there. He never wanted to be a Pelican. Like, how many
but it
people
also-
could say they wanted to be a
He wanted to
Pelican?
be an
You know?
NBA player with the way that he drinks Mountain Dew and eats Doritos.
I-
and eats tacos.
I-
Like,
I
hey,
That's
agree.
If
I-
he goes to the city, the two best cities for food in this whole country, it's not even a debate, are New York City and New Orleans by far. And then he
Mhm.
goes there and eats Doritos and Mountain Dew and Taco Bell. Like, this is what you're eating? You have the best restaurants.
I
in
mean,
the
for
country.
Christ's sake, if you look
You
at
eat-
Zion
that's the
Williamson in
garbage
high
you're
school
eating?
compared
Come
to when
on,
he
Zion,
had
you're a
that
millionaire.
Doritos commercial, or if you look at Zion Williamson in high school compared to when he had the Mountain Dew commercial, it looks like Zion Williamson ate Zion Williamson. I'm not
he
taking a
was like
chance on that.
Luka and he was getting fat, fine dining, and drinking $1,000
Luka plays
bottles
through
of wine.
injuries, plays 65 plus games a season usually,
Zion
and puts up
eating Taco Bell
33,
and
8,
Doritos.
and
Come
8.
on, bro.
I'm good with that.
So look, if they move Zion, which it seems as though that seems to be what they want to do, right? Where do you see being a fit for Zion? Like, you're saying Detroit?
Chicago, and what was the other team that I mentioned?
See, that's very
And-
risky for Detroit, though. Like, I hear what you're saying. That's
How so?
very risky.
Team that hasn't
Because
really done
they
anything
built up a
recently.
really nice core. They got Jalen Duran. Like, it doesn't fit really with Jalen
But
Duran.
considerably,
And
the price may not be that much, right? From
I
what
know
Gary's
what the
saying.
pri-
They have picks. They're not going to be in the lottery anymore based on the way that they've been playing. right? So you're taking out the opportunity of adding high upside youth for guys who are more plug-in role fits and role players. So you're giving up a couple of role player picks plus what? One
you
of
trade
Isaiah
Dur-
Stewart. You probably trade Jaden Ivey via sign and trade and Isaiah Stewart. They need a
That would be
center.
the
They
piece.
need a shooting
Ivy would
guard.
be the trade, but like now you got a couple of big pieces. Two of those big pieces are Zion and Duren.
You
And they
also
both
have to
have to
remember
be-
too, Detroit has cap space.
They do,
Detroit,
but
I
I'm
think,
saying,
has
like,
second, third, or fourth
here's
most
my
cap space
question,
this
Dylan.
offseason.
How does Duren and Zion kind of coexist?
I
Neither
don't
one
think
of them
that's
can
what I'm
shoot.
saying. Like I don't think they fit together on like from a strength, like
I
trying
think
to
they're great
dominate.
players. I
They
love
It's a
cannot.
both
different
those
style.
guys.
It's a
From
different brand of
draft
basketball,
together.
which we're really not seeing in the NBA. That two
All right,
bully
so
ball.
let's counter this then, right? Because I would think Duren's more likely to be traded than Isaiah Stewart is simply because Stewart is under contract and also can stretch the floor a bit. If you're putting Jalen Duren in the package, which again, New Orleans needs a center.
I think
If you're giving them Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, and then one other
Of course, no.
salary
The
filler,
Pelicans, you jump on that, yeah. But I don't. I
Look,
think that's
that's
an
what I'm saying.
overpay. Like
Can we all agree with this? If the Pistons
It
are
is an
willing
overpay.
to give up
but how
Duren,
many
we
times
have no
historically
chance
has
of
a
getting
team
Zion.
gotten
We
a
have
trade
no
what was
done
that?
where
chance
they
Say that
didn't
again,
overpay?
Gary. What'd you say?
If the Pistons are willing to trade Duren, we have no chance of getting Zion because we don't have any piece that can counter
No, of
Duren.
course, yeah, 100%,
But
100%.
my
It
point
depends
is
on what
how
the
many times
market determines what's his value. Like what a team. All it takes is one team to just.
I would not.
All
If
right.
I was Detroit, I would not trade Duren.
when a team
I
is making
wouldn't
a win
either.
now
He's-
move, how many times historically has that team not had to overpay? The Nets overpaid for James Harden. The Suns overpaid for Kevin Durant. How many other trade examples can you really put out there for that? Like
but they
9
have
times
to
out of
win
10,
a
you're
series
overpaying to
first, though.
succeed. That's how that works.
Yeah, you're taking a risk. There's no reward without the risk, of course.
But that's
But
my point. You gotta overpay to get it done. Is Detroit in the position to overpay and get it done? Yes.
I think it's very situational. Is like it has to be a perfect match for it to really work out. Like he has to want to be there. He has to be committed. The roster's construction for in terms of the starting lineup and
You got Cade Cunningham and Asura Thompson.
but
That's starting block.
a lot of it is the five. Who's
Yeah.
the five next to him? Who's the big
Isaiah
man next
Stewart.
to him?
I see Houston as
Look, if Detroit
see
wants
Houston
him,
as a
Detroit's
landing
going to get
spot.
him because they have a
Yeah.
package for him. They have a real. The
what
question
about
is,
Houston?
do they?
No,
That's,
Houston.
that's intriguing, but I think they're better. They're better off going for a less liability in terms of
I
injury
think
risk.
Detroit's a team that could be in on Devin Booker
Nah.
if he's available next year. Like, I don't deny that.
Yeah.
I think the best landing spot in terms of realistic opportunity is the Spurs for Zion because I don't think they're going to get Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is a rocket. It's not hard if you're Matt Ashiba. Go get your picks back. It's the same thing that the Nets did. Ashiba sucks. He's horrible as an owner. He's worse than Joe Tsai, surprisingly. But
What's the first domino? What's the first? You're saying what? Kevin Durant is the first. The first.
Kevin Durant is well, actually no. Does Giannis request a trade after the season?
I
That's the first.
mean, it depends on the outcome of this playoff series. I think.
If Giannis requests a trade, then that puts Kevin Durant in the position to get traded first because it depends on the team that trades for him first. That'll be the teams that follow suit for Giannis because Giannis's decision is going to be much harder to trade him simply because he's 30, turning 31, still in his prime, putting up MVP numbers.
He's worth
Kevin
more.
Durant is going to be 38 on an expiring contract. It's going to be much easier to move him. Houston's probably going to jump on KD. That now leaves you in position to where you're up against Spurs, other teams for Giannis. Whoever wins the Giannis sweepstakes, let's say it's not San Antonio. Now you're in on Zion, and Zion makes the most sense for San Antonio.
Well, look,
It's
here's
going to be tough though. If all of these teams are actually interested in Zion, now at the trade deadline, they got 0 calls. So I don't know. But if all of these teams are interested, they all have far better packages than we do.
yeah, you'd be doing yourself a disservice not being interested in Zion and entertaining the thought of it, like just
As a rebuilding
gouging
team
what is
with no
what the
direction,
cost
no.
is.
As a rebuilding team with no direction, no. As a team that's a missing piece away, and if he can stay healthy and not be obese, yes.
Yeah, but Dylan,
Our franchise is already in hell. We have nowhere. We have nowhere else.
We
to
have
go
two
but-
draft
can only
classes
go
to
up.
We have 2 draft classes to go. That's
I'm
what
not
we have.
trading-
We
I'm not
have
trading this pick.
we
Yeah,
have
I don't
potentially-
want to
we have
make any big
potentially
trades
6 players that we could be
till
adding to the
26
roster over the
draft.
next 2 years
But
through the draft.
here's what I'm saying, and I'm pretty sure you could agree. Would you trade Zion for the 6th or 7th pick in next year's draft?
No.
That's
100%.
No.
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 Next year's draft is absurd. I just named the guys. Darren
I
Peterson,
hear what,
AJ
yeah,
Demancey,
but
Noah
we
Ament, Cam
we
Boozer,
know
Jaden
what
Quinn,
Zion looks
Noah
like
Brown, Caleb
against the
Wilson, Caleb
NBA
Gafford,
players. Like we know what healthy Zion is. He's a
Darius
superstar.
Aiken. There's 9 players I would take
Okay,
above Zion if
but
you
the
were to go.
guys you named, can you definitively tell me that they
But you
are?
can't definitively tell me that Zion's going to stay healthy and
We've
still
seen
play the
no,
part.
I know that, but
That's the problem.
when healthy, we've seen him all NBA. Like that, the talent is like we know the talent
It
is
is
there.
by far. I mean,
He's got it. Don't make him show.
I know he's a great
Guys,
player when
I
he's not
gotta
fat,
wrap
obese,
I do
and
have to wrap
healthy.
this up. I had to wrap this up like 15 minutes ago. I gotta wrap this up, guys. This was I appreciate you, Mark.
This was
and
fun. This
Oh.
was fun. This was fun.
Mark's got to give his picks for tonight. It's 2 games,
Yeah, Mark.
right?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I could see the Warriors going all the way with the all the way. So that's where I'm putting it. And
That's what Gary's saying.
and Orlando, I could that's easy. Like Atlanta's not even like Paolo's gonna eat. He's gonna feast on them tonight.
All right. We all went with Orlando and Atlanta. Dylan, tell him what we got for him tomorrow.
I actually just got a text. He got put to jury duty tomorrow, so we're gonna reschedule that. I know that we were talking mock draft. Why don't we do the mock draft tomorrow?
All right, we got a what time you want to do that? I'm free.
You let me know a time that works for you. I should be available.
You want to do it in the afternoon like this, or you want to do it in the evening?
Let's do after spring break for most people, right? In middle school. Yeah, why not? We'll go early afternoon. Let's try like 12, 1, 2-ish around that time frame.
12:30 again?
Yeah, let's do 12:30. We'll figure out if we're
Yeah.
gonna do 1 or 2 rounds.
I'll
We're gonna
be
figure out if we'll
available,
do trades and stuff. So we'll get that all figured out.
I'll send you a link, LBL.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right.
Mark,
I
glad
just
you
want- I
came
just-
on.
I just want to say one thing. Congrats to the Houston Rockets for having drafted Richard Jefferson back in the 2001 draft, right? Guys, it was fun today. All right.
All right.
Have a good one, man.
Yes.
All right, guys.
That was
right.
good. That was good.
That was good.
All right, guys. April 15th, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank you and God bless.